be myself today. Yeah, I'm not worried about opinions, nigga. This is how I get it, nigga. I'ma be myself today. I've been staying in my lane, trying to focus on the pain. I'ma be myself today.
Hello, Sensei fam. Sensei Inc. here, and I am back with Anime Chat and Rap episode 10. We have a very special episode today because as of recently, I've been having a lot of guests on, and this one's a little bit more intimate. We have a very, very special guest here today, Totally Not Mark. Very excited to have him here. And then we have Masked Man and we have Fiji as well. We're going to have a very good conversation today, and I'm excited for it. I want to let these guys kind of, introduce themselves a little bit, tell you guys what they do on their channels, and so on and so forth. So, Masked Man, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell the guests what you do.
Yeah, yo, how's it going, everybody? It's the Masked Man. I mostly talk about Berserk. In fact, waiting for the new chapter that comes out today. And other than that, I tend to do very mediocre reviews and analysis on some of your favorite manga. so yeah, that's what I do.
Alrighty, thanks for being here, man. Fiji, would you like to introduce yourself? Let them know what you do.
Hey guys, my name is Fiji. I go by Owl Fiji on YouTube, and I make One Piece content, from chapter reviews to character analysis to your odd power scaling video here and there. And yeah, pleasure to be here, man. Thanks for having me, sir.
Thank you for being here. It's always a pleasure. And finally, Totally Not Mark, the special guest of the hour. Can you please introduce yourself and let the guests know what you do as well?
Hey, what's up? I'm Totally Not Mark, as you so eloquently put. But yeah, no, I've primarily just covered Dragon Ball for the last 3 years, but I decided to take the plunge into One Piece, which was I saw it as like the biggest challenge that I could possibly do as an anime reviewer. And yeah, I've just been loving the experience. I'm still very much a One Piece newbie. I'm still halfway through the series after doing it for 2.5 months now. So hopefully I'll get to the end soon. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Excited to talk about that. But firstly, I want to get into a conversation that we were kind of having before I started recording. And I want to ask, since Mark, you were talking about it, your YouTube journey. When did you start doing YouTube? How did you start off? And then when did you really see your first big spike in subscribers and viewers? When did you know okay, I could possibly make a career out of this?
Oh, okay, so they're all different. So okay, I suppose I'm 29 years of age now. My birthday was just this month actually. So I got into YouTube in around 2007. So when I was a kid, in Ireland, especially the area that I was in, when we got broadband high-speed internet, I was like, oh my god, I can actually watch a video now. And I remember before the high-speed internet, I'd if you wanted to see how do I catch this Pokemon in whatever game I was playing at the time, I'd be like, okay, I found a video on it. I gotta let it load overnight so I can actually kind of watch it. But eventually then we obviously got high-speed internet, and that kind of opened up the floodgates. And I think at that point, it kind of put me into a good frame of mind and gave me a lot of experience, especially now that looking back at it, it was invaluable. And around that time, I started covering Halo 3 content, if you believe that. And the first video that really blew up for me was some kind of video that I actually just typed. It was like a typography type video where there was no narration, there was nothing. Looking back on it, it's a truly awful video. But because it was released around the same time the game was announced, it got a flood of 120,000 views, and I got 1,000 subscribers. Flash forward 3 years, I do nothing with that channel. I don't upload to it anymore. And I find myself in a job in a factory where I was very, very, very I don't want to say depressed, because I wasn't depressed, but I was just very down and sad, and I really wasn't liking with what I was doing. I had dropped out of college after doing a course for 3 years. I just decided that it just wasn't for me. Even though I was trying very hard at it, it just wasn't for me. And I found myself in a job that was given to me by my father. And the people that I was working with were much older than me. I felt like they kind of resented me, and they definitely didn't like me for whatever reason. But I found myself doing night shifts on my own. I feeling isolated. I felt like I'd gotten kind of malnourished. I was basically just, for all intents and purposes, a very bad place. And I remember going through YouTube and researching different things, just trying to think about ways I could try to get out of this situation, or at least inject some kind of life into my life again. And I looked to the side. I actually have the poster here on my desk. It's an NSP, it's a Ninja Sex Party poster, and it says Ninja Sex Party, the movie. That's totally not happening. And I think that must have gotten ingrained into my brain, because the first thing I thought of is, I think I'll make a YouTube channel. I'll call it Totally Not Mark. and like, it's a really terrible story for a name. I wish I had a better one, but like, essentially that was the impetus then. So I kind of, from that point on, because I was always a massive fan of Dragon Ball, I felt that I wanted to watch certain videos, and I thought those videos that I wanted to watch weren't being made. And so that was what kind of spurred me on to making new content. So when I started uploading initially, it wasn't really for anyone, and I wasn't doing it for views or anything. It was just because I thought it was a fun idea. And one of my videos gets shared on some blog. I actually don't remember what the blog was called, but I got 20,000 views overnight, and that was massive to me. I had no idea anyone would be interested in it. And then fast forward 2 months later, and that video gets 200,000 views. And ever since that day, it just kind of been snowballing and getting a little bit better. But I have to say, with this latest few months with the whole One Piece content, and specifically over the last 2 years, ever since I got an editor, I found that I've been really finding my voice, so to speak, for lack of a better term. And yeah, One Piece specifically, the fans surrounding it have been more than welcome to what I've been doing lately.
Awesome.
That was amazing.
That was a great story, man. I really, the story about how you got your YouTube name, I know you said it wasn't that good, but I thought that was pretty cool, man. for what it was. But that's awesome that you were speaking of getting into the One Piece community, and I'm really glad, and I've been watching some of your videos. I've been, paying attention, and I'm really glad to see that it's odd in a lot of ways, because when you talk about the One Piece community with a lot of people, like they're a lot of their thoughts is that it's like a toxic place, and I feel like for every like big series, the community can be toxic in some ways. But as far as the YouTube scene goes with One Piece, I feel like, in my experience at least, like everyone's been super like welcoming, and it's been like super helpful. So like it's good to see that you're getting love for doing it.
Well, I don't really judge. Okay, I'm not sure if my opinion is worth anything, because I feel like I have a sort of a skewed perspective on this, considering the position that I'm in. I'm not like a typical fan. I don't know. Or at least I hope I'm not a typical fan, in that I have a decent sized following, where they'll message me and they'll talk to me and they'll reach out to me on Twitter, Instagram, and all the rest of it. But I find that every anime fandom that I've ever sort of dipped my toe into or looked at like under a closer lens, so to speak, I always find that like if you're looking for it or if you're open to it, you'll always find like certain like toxic elements to it. And I think that's just human nature, because especially, like, put it this way, I won't judge fandom's credibility on Twitter alone, because I feel like Twitter is the home of is the home of really awful things, and it just makes me sad to be there. But yeah, no, like, I mean, I'm kind of judging it based on the response that I've been given. Like, people have been posting my stuff on Reddit, I've heard, which is really, really cool. And even the people on Twitter that I kind of like, just hung out to dry there, I still get like ridiculous amounts of like just like people being really appreciative for what I do. And like the best sort of comments I get are, especially regarding the whole One Piece thing, is that people say that, oh, you got me into the series even though I was very hesitant. And I was like, that's so cool. I'm really happy that like I was able to entertain people, or to bring people to, or introduce people to a new property that offers them so much joy, especially nowadays when there's so much vitriol and dissension, going on in the news and what have you. I mean, like, I'm saying that as a person living in Ireland.
Yeah, for sure.
I have no idea what it's like living in America right now.
Yeah. We won't get into that. I won't get into that too much, but yeah, man, I feel you, bro, because like I'm only 4 months in, and I'm not like a huge channel, but like even when I see comments like that, and sometimes it does happen when I'll do a podcast maybe, or other than podcasts, I'm always doing One Piece videos, and seeing anyone in the comments saying, like, under the podcast or whatnot, saying Hey man, heard your like yesterday. Actually, I put my last podcast out yesterday, and someone in the comments, we were talking about Berserk for a while, and like seeing someone say, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna start Berserk now." Like seeing somebody say something like that, like it really does mean a lot to me. So I agree with you 100% on that. Also,
Yeah.
my other guest Kneecaps just came into the building. He's a little bit late,
Hey,
but it's
sorry
all
about
good.
that.
It's all good,
Yo,
bro. It's all
Kneecaps,
good,
what's
bro.
good?
Glad you're here, man. Glad you're here. For everyone that doesn't know Kneecaps, Kneecaps, if you just want to let them know what you do real quick, who you are real quick.
Yeah, my name is Kneecaps. I just make videos, I guess, you know. That's
Accurate.
I don't really have anything.
That is accurate,
He
man.
do be making videos. He do be making, but
Good videos, mind you. Good
yeah.
videos.
But Kneecap, since you're here, actually, because I've gotten Masked Man's answer and Fiji's answer for this YouTube question before, but I want to ask you because I don't know if I ever asked you this, but like, how did your like YouTube journey go? Like, when did you really like know like, okay, this is something that I could do like long term? Like, when was your first like, I guess your first video that you put out that did well enough that you thought like, oh, I might be pretty good at this?
It was more of like what's it called? It was more like during like a transition, because like me and my friend we used to make like videos on Facebook, right? So we transitioned over to YouTube, and like I don't know, we just love like we just like making videos. So we were like, you know what, we could actually you know make like a career out of it. But you know, after a while, they kind of like because I had like more than just one friend doing like videos with me, and what happened is that we kind of just like didn't have much time to like you know continue making videos together. So I kind of like branched off and just like started doing videos by myself. But I don't know, it was just like I guess around the time that we switched from Facebook to YouTube, it was like around that time. So I don't know. I don't really know if that's a good answer.
No, I
I
got
think
you,
it's
man.
really, I think it's really scary. I mean, this is actually a part of the question that I never answered. I'm now realizing after hearing this guy's answer, so I'm very sorry. It was no, like I can totally relate to the idea of not having the time and not finding the time, and I think that was like the scariest. I think that's the scariest point for any YouTuber that comes to a certain level, or at least kind of gets to a certain point where they think, oh, if I maybe spend a little bit more time with this, I could make a living wage. But right now I'm not. So, but I need to make that jump. But if I don't make the jump, then it's never going to happen. And like, I remember when I made the jump, and it was like I was working in a place called PC World. But
Yep.
yeah, it's basically just like a technology store where they sell computers and different pieces of technology. I basically was, in all intents and purposes, a computer salesman. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, I've got 20,000 subscribers. I think if I really dedicate myself to this, I could maybe give it have a good shot at this. And I remember thinking like, this is a massive decision to make, and I could imagine that if I was in college or if I was doing anything that was perhaps a bit more permanent than what I was already doing, I wouldn't have taken that jump. So I can totally empathize with you and your friend in that particular situation, because it's very tough. And I think it's like a lot of people want to be a YouTuber, but I think a lot of people like the idea of being a YouTuber, but very few people can actually be a YouTuber because it involves so much sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I've only been doing it 4 months, but and of course I will say this, I feel like I have been blessed in the way that it doesn't I don't want to use the word blessing because it's terrible, and it's like it's a lot of adversity and like negativity is coming from it. But COVID is like the reason why I really dived into this, because
Yeah.
I got laid off, and I was like, okay, well, I have a plethora of free time on my hands, and I need to do something productive, and I don't want to
Pretty cool.
be out and about while this virus is spreading. So let me figure out what I want to do. And I've always wanted to do YouTube, but it's just like something like you said, I never could find time for it because I work in mental health, and my weeks, I'm working 50-60 hours a week,
Yeah.
I just don't have I just never had the time. So now that I, of course, unfortunately got laid off, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not working, so like let me
You're
try
not going to
this.
sit in your hands and feel sorry for yourself.
Yeah, I'm
You're
not
going to get up and try to
exactly.
do something, which is really like. See, I think that specific mentality, the ability to take a shitty situation and not waste your time feeling sorry for yourself, because trust me, the entire world isn't feeling sorry for you. No one's going to feel sorry for you. You have to figure out what's going on and how to make things work. And like that particular mentality, I think, is one of the most valuable things that I don't think can be or isn't being taught in school. It's one of those things where like you just got to be able to dig down and get gritty, and you just got to be able to make the best out of a bad situation and turn bad things into lemonade.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
And I've always like known throughout life, going back to what you were just saying about people not feeling sorry for you, I've never had a good hand dealt to me in life. It's never. And I always like to be positive and say, well, the first quarter of my life was shitty, so maybe like the second half of my life will be good. That's how I like to look at it, because I'm just like, well, I'm 25 now, and my 25 years of life have been pretty shitty. So I'm like, okay, the other, hopefully I live to be 70, 80, whatever. The other 50 years of my life, I'm hoping are decent, at least better. So that's kind of how the mindset I have. Like I always just, and also with myself, like I just go by this thing, it's kind of it might be corny to some people, but it goes back to like how I think anime and manga can really like teach you, like there's gems that you can find, and there's things that you can apply to real life. And it's a quote from Rock Lee. It's just basically, try to be better than what you were yesterday, or try to be. So it's like that's kind of, and it's wild to hear like quotes like that in anime and manga and to like adapt it to real life, but like it's really something that you can apply to real life. And I always try to just be better like than who I was yesterday, even if it's something small. And I feel like a lot of people, especially nowadays with everything going on with COVID and the police reform and all this stuff that's going on in life right now, like I feel like it's something that a lot of people should try to do, is just be a little bit better, even if it's something small.
Well, I mean, I think it's difficult for me to talk about anything, because I think it's like I totally agree with what you're saying, but I also think a lot of it is relative. Like, so like if I'm having a bad day, I might think that my particular situation is bad, but another person in that very same situation could look at my day and say, God, you have like so much of a better situation than I do. But that person, depending on their point of view, could be much more productive than I am. I think most of it isn't necessarily about the now to a degree, but I think what defines whether or not a person will or will not be successful is largely down to their own attitude and how they take a situation and can make it better or worse for themselves. Because I've gotten comments on videos and stuff like where I don't think I'm injecting anything particularly revolutionary. I've had a few videos that I'm proud of and all the rest of it, but I'm certainly not Socrates, So like I'm not like changing the world with my ideas or what I do, but I think a good positive attitude and like a good ethic really takes you a long way, and people recognize that, and they can see the passion and enthusiasm in your voice, and they can see when you're putting it on as well. And I think when you are finding yourself grinding a video out without finding much success, which I've been in before in the early days. Like, I mean, I wasn't earning any money and I was still making videos in the hopes that one day maybe it might pop off. But like, it's finding the enthusiasm to still feel enthusiastic, but to also motivate yourself to keep going until it's finished. And it's just one of those things that, like, again, to reiterate the point that I made earlier, I think it's something that like isn't put enough emphasis on. I don't think YouTube is something that can be handed to you necessarily unless you're a very, very lucky person.
Yeah, for sure. Like, so of course, some people just get lucky. Like, it just happens sometimes. People just happen to post a video that just does very well, and then it kind of just goes from there. That does happen, but usually it's not the case. It's
you can't bank on that.
Usually it's not the case, and I especially like going back to what you were saying. For me, it's like I'm very much in the early days, and Fiji as well. We're still like, I can't speak for him, but for me, I'm still like finding myself and finding out what kind of type of content I want to do, and so on and so forth. And sometimes it is rough. Like sometimes you think like you spend a lot of time on a video, like days sometimes, and you work really hard on it, and you think like, oh, this is great, this video is great, and you may love the video yourself, but again, there's so much randomness, and like you were saying in YouTube.
Don't talk to me about that. Okay. Right? No. Okay. Can I swear in this podcast? Because I actually don't swear.
He's been holding back.
Well, no, because I'm Irish, so like the thing is, right, in my videos I don't swear at all for obvious reasons, and I'm not sure if that's something that bothers you or not. Like, and that's why
I don't care if you swear. I'm probably just gonna edit it out.
All right, no, it's fine. I just won't swear that. But like in Ireland, people swear for different reasons than they would necessarily in the United States. Swearing is like almost like a term of endearment. It shows that you're comfortable with somebody. Whereas if I called someone say here, you'd be like, oh my god, how could you say that to that person? I remember I had a friend from America once. I had a friend from America, and as a joke, I said to him, let me call my friend and I'll just say to him without any context, you're a massive fat cunt. And she was like, you can't do that. He'll never be your friend again. And I was like, watch. And I said exactly what I said to you guys just now. And he was like, Mark, what do you want?
That makes sense.
I've got a few Irish mates.
Yeah, I got some Irish friends. Yeah, my buddy. Hey, shout out my boy. Shout out my boy Majin. You know what I'm saying, Majin? If you hear this, you know what I'm saying. Majin's a good friend of mine. He's in Ireland. And like all the time, like I joke with him all the time, like, and I'll do like my fake Ireland accent with him, and we'll just talk shit to each other. And like the first time he called me a cunt, I was taken back by it, because like you said, that is a word here that's like in America that's like not,
it has a lot of weight.
Yeah, so I was like whoa, like, but then he explained it to me, and I was like, yo, I ain't gonna lie, that is kind of funny. Like,
well, like the thing is that like I think like I was talking about this with my friend the other day, and this is really fucking tangential. So so sorry for that. But I was talking about swearing culture and all that kind of rest of it in Ireland specifically with my friend who lives here also, and we were kind of talking about like, where does this kind of like really dark sense of humor come from? And like I think Britain has a bit of it as well, but Ireland really has it. And like we were talking about, because a lot of the things that we say sort of have ties to like the Irish language and all that kind of stuff, and it rains here like 350 days of the year. It's always it's always bad weather, and on top of that, we've also been like 800 years of slavery, and then there was war in the north and all the rest of it. So I think we've just been able to like we have to be able to take a bad situation and laugh at it. Yeah. And that I think it kind of comes from that. But the point that I was making before all of this anyway was I made a video that was awful, like really awful. And it was like the top 10 worst animated moments in Dragon Ball Super or whatever, right? And it got 2.5 million views. It's still my most viewed video, and I hate that fact, because people will go to my channel and they'll sort the videos by most popular to least popular, and they'll see that video ranked high, number one above everything else, and say, this is probably a really good representation of what this person makes. And then you click on it, and it's like really bad quality. My mic quality is awful. My delivery is just not there, and it's just, I'm embarrassed of the video. But I also have like a rule, like sort of unwritten rule, where I won't delete a single video I make, because I kind of like the idea of, I'm kind of proud of the process. Like, I'm not ashamed of, you know, like being bad. I think
part of your journey.
Exactly. But like, I think people need to be able to see that like to someone who isn't a YouTuber, that has no idea about what I do and isn't comfortable speaking into a mic like I was, for them to hear me now, I feel without context to be like, I'll never be able to do what he can do. But in actuality, yes, you can.
You literally can do it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I kind of like having that kind of timeline of progression on my channel also.
Sure, it just takes time. And like for me, and I'm sure Fiji can attest to this as well, like we have like a lot of friends in our friend group that have been doing YouTube for a very long time. And like, and like the fact, like, and not, this is not, before I even say this, anyone that's listening, don't not take this the wrong way. I'm not trying to belittle you in any way. I just wanted to make a point. Like, seeing that, you know, I think Fiji, what are you, like 6 months in, maybe something like that?
About like 7 or 8 months.
Like
Yeah.
7-8 months. I'm 4 months in. Like seeing like that we've like, when I say like surpassed them like by a good gap, like seeing that, like I'm not gonna lie, like it makes me, it's like a it makes me feel bad, but then like also I'm just kind of like I kind of trying to get out of that mindset, because I'm like, okay, I do feel bad about it, but it's of course out of my control. It's not my fault, but it's like it still kind of makes me feel bad in a way. But it's like also it's like, but I have been working really hard, so
And
it's
that's
like
one thing I love about like our community is the fact that all of these guys as well that you're talking about, they're all proud of us. That's one thing I
Yeah,
really
for
like
sure.
about the One Piece YouTube community the most, because we're all connected, we all support each other, and it's not like you know, just because you surpass somebody.
and that's why I
Gravity
feel
and
bad,
forward,
Fiji,
yeah.
because they're so supportive. I think that's
Yeah.
why I feel
Yeah, like
like-
if I'm being real and true with you, a lot of those people are the reason why I am where I am. A lot of
Yeah,
them are. If it wasn't for
exactly.
them, I would have nobody to make videos with, to get on
Yep.
streams with, and it's like I'm, you know, eternally grateful for a lot of these guys, like from Brago to Dritz to Virgo to Jay, all of these guys, and that's one thing I like about our community. So earlier when you said that the One Piece community, the YouTube community, like is something you like,
I love
I
it.
can say it's probably the best community I've ever been a part
It's
of.
funny. It's funny though, because like I say it's good, but like I've only been able to. I've been so like to a ridiculous degree avoiding spoilers. I've been like
Yeah.
as in like I spent an entire afternoon putting I think close to 300 or 400 words into my muted words on YouTube and Twitter and all the
Yeah,
rest of it.
nah, that's good, man.
Yo,
but,
this
like,
man
so, like-
Mark, this man Mark is hilarious, dude. This man Mark followed me real quick so he could DM me, and then unfollowed me and was like, "Hey, man, I'm kind of a stickler on who I follow right now, you know." And I know it's
Yeah.
because like he's like trying to stay away from following One Piece accounts, and I 100% understand.
Oh no, dude! It goes deeper than that. So like it's like a strategy for me where like I associate social media with like, especially I think the kind of person that I am. I'm really self-critical. So when anything goes not according to plan, I can't help but feel introspective and say, okay, how did I fail this time? So in order to kind of like and like that's not like. Yeah, but like that's I really don't think that's a healthy mindset, and I really don't think that's the correct mindset, just given my experience. And especially like there's like again, to harken back on what I was saying before, I'm really not a fan of feeling sorry for myself. So I want to try to maximize the good vibes, quote unquote. So
Yeah.
what I do on Twitter is I really only follow people that are my immediate friends in real life that never post, and people that like make artwork. So like I see pictures that I like that are nice. So that's what I associate Twitter with now. It's just like nice artwork and no arguments.
Yeah,
Yeah,
now
for
Twitter
sure.
is
No,
a
that makes
platform
sense.
where Twitter is a platform where you do want to just stay away from all that. To be honest, it definitely is.
Well, like the thing is, like I mean, you can probably tell now, like I love talking, but like I also really do like discussing things in like an argument type setting, but never mean spirited. And I think it's
Right.
really hard to have a non mean spirited argument on Twitter because obviously tone and intonation isn't clear
Doesn't
via text and all the
translate
rest of it. And I feel like because tone and intonation isn't clear, I think people have a tendency to assume the worst of a
Yeah.
particular conversation.
I've been there. I've been there, man.
Yeah,
I've
and just
definitely
to
been
err on the
there.
safe side, because
Oh,
if
man.
they, yeah, so like anytime someone comes to me on Twitter with maybe a slightly heated perspective, I don't set myself the goal of I need to prove that this guy's wrong. I think, okay, there's a misunderstanding here. I want to try to see if I can make this guy my friend.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I literally just got into it with someone because I thought they were being hostile towards me. And like I'm not the type of person to like argue on Twitter. I don't like doing that. So I just DM'd them to talk about it. And they were just like, "Oh no, man, I was just trolling." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like I felt kind of bad because like I wasn't like mean to them or anything, but like I just like it's so hard to tell when someone's playing around and when they're not. Like
Yeah, but
it does not
I
translate
think-
well.
yeah, but like I this is a lesson that I had to learn like over the course of a long period of time. I think it's always like I feel like people, especially on social media, because everything is so reactionary and we always want like instant feedback. I feel like people forget that there are three options when dealing with a bad comment that comes your way. You can respond positively, you can respond negatively, or you can just not respond at all. And I feel like people don't use that third option enough.
Oh yeah. Well, see,
especially because if, for me, like if I receive a comment that, like, I could be like, to an absurd degree, so clear about what I'm saying in a video. Like, I'm so particular with my words. That's why I script videos. Like, I choose my words carefully. I say things like I think, in my opinion, and all that kind of stuff, because I genuinely am trying to convert or try to communicate that it's a subjective viewpoint that I'm going into, and this is an opinion corner. But even when I get comments that are like so grossly misrepresenting what I'm saying, or at least I think they're grossly misrepresenting what I'm saying, I always have to think, okay, I only have two options here. I'm not allowed to respond negatively. Is this person worth having a conversation with? If it's not, I just won't bother, because I don't think it's also it's probably also not very productive to have a conversation online, especially if you're emotional or heated, or like, you know, he's been emotionally compromised, that kind of thing, you know. And I definitely don't want to be the YouTuber who's, you know, hammering down on like his fans and all that kind of stuff. I really feel like I'm genuinely really appreciative for everything and everyone that takes the time out of the day to watch what I make. So if they want or have an opinion on me, they're totally entitled to have it, whichever way it swings.
For sure. So, Mash Man, let me ask you a question. I haven't heard from you in a while. So let me just get your opinions on like your YouTube journey, like as far as like when did you know, like I said before, like this was going to be something that you could do in the future? When did you have your first like big video, etc.?
All right, well, so this goes back to, so I just graduated a year ago. I was supposed to graduate this year, but I skipped a grade. And while I was in high school, I was always very art and music inclined. Like I was in choir during school and all of that. And I was also like in the art competitions and whatnot. So whilst doing so, I started taking a lot of extracurricular courses on like computer editing, digital designing, marketing, and media. Mind you, I had no idea YouTube was in mind. Also, I've been someone who's pretty good at speaking on the spot, whether that's in front of a class, in front of other people. Like I've never been scared of other people. I don't know why. I have that kind of outgoing nature.
You've got a great voice. You do. You actually really like your voice.
Appreciate it. That means a lot.
I do.
No,
I do. I really do. Like I was like, oh god, this guy could be like an audiobook or something.
Yeah, and what's crazy is I've always been, my uncle, he's like the biggest Dragon Ball Z fan. Like he got me into the series. It was my childhood. And I started getting into Naruto when I was in high school. So I had just been becoming an anime fan, and literally what me and my friends would do during lunch or during our free time is we would watch Swag Kage, Super Eye Patch Wolf, Nux, and you, Mark. Like you guys were the four. I'm serious. No,
you're
like
making that up. You're absolutely making that up.
No. What was the video? I was either in it was my junior year or my senior year where you did the video discussing Goku, right?
Because my girlfriend told me to make that video actually.
Hey, that's what's up, because me and my homies, we were talking about Goku at the time, right? And the debate we were having was how good of a protagonist was Goku. Now, mind you, this was pre me getting into like Berserk, Vagabond, Vinland. So, you know, my perspective might have been a little skewed at the time, but I kid you not. Like, when Sensei hit me up and was like, yo, Totally Not Mark's going to be on the pod, like, you and Swag Kage were my inspirations for YouTube. It was you two.
You can't say things that to me because my ego won't go down. You really have to stop. It's
all
really
right.
It's really nice being mentioned in the same breath as Super Eye Patch Wolf. I'm good friends with him, and I think he makes amazing content. So
he really is. Yeah. But we would watch those videos, and then my senior year, where I had taken another class on tech and whatnot, this time teaching us how to use editing softwares like Adobe After Effects, Premiere Pro. I was just naturally good at it, at all of it, whether it was editing. I get a lot of compliments for my thumbnails and whatnot. And so my homies, they hit me up and they were like, just start a YouTube channel. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And I started it, but that happened in like February, March. And so I was only talking about Naruto at the time. Hence why my channel is now The Masked Man. I won't reveal my first YouTube name. It sucked. I refuse. But I was doing Naruto content at the time. and it was working somewhat. I'd get like 1,000, 2,000 views video. Some videos would hit 15,000. But other than that, I was around the 2,000, 3,000 subscriber mark, and it was going pretty slow, if I'm being completely honest. And then probably the worst moment of my life happened my final month as a senior in high school. The girl who I was with at the time for, I'd say like 7-8 months, I had found out she had left me for a guy, basically a friend I had. And I had to find out over social media. And I found out she was like cheating on me the whole time and all that. And so
I
felt betrayed. I was so viscerally angry that my attitude was leave me alone. Like, that's because for me, I understand how heavy and how impactful your words can be. So my message to her was leave me alone. Don't mess with me. Don't talk to me. We'll be fine. We go our separate ways. But no, she felt like she was the victim and proceeded to make the rest, like my final year in high school, my final month, the most miserable possible. From like pushing me over, cussing me out in the hallway in front of everybody. Like it came to the point where I had anxiety when the final bell came, because I was like, okay, let me find the nearest exit and like dart for the car. I graduate, I feel okay. And like everyone's been going through this quarantine for the past 3 months, 4 months. I basically went into my own quarantine as soon as I graduated. Because my goal after high school, and it still is to this day, it's what I'm training for, is I want to go overseas and give it a try for professional football, professional soccer, since that's like been my passion since I was like 12, 13. And that's kind of what I'm using my YouTube money now to raise for to go to an academy and get the opportunities to make my dream come true. But at the time, I was very distraught emotionally. I didn't know where to go. I'm like a 17-year-old kid. I don't know what to do, what I want to do, other than that, because I have all this free time on my hands as well when I'm not training or playing. And I was like, I need something to get off my mind. And I was getting bored of doing Naruto content. So then I'm watching a death battle video, and it's about Guts versus Nightmare. And I'm like, okay, this seems kind of cool. And then I hear he cut his own arm off. And when I heard Guts' story for the first time, it hit me like it hit me home in many ways. And so I started watching more Berserk videos done by Soul. I saw the one done by Nux. And I was like, you know what? I want to get into Berserk. And I looked at it as there's so much of a big audience for Berserk based off of the views those Berserk videos get, but there's not a lot of content creators, right? At the time, Real Life Ryan was still coming up, and then you had Spiredon's Godhand and Boofire. Shouts out to my boys. But there wasn't really somebody who could explain Berserk in a much simpler way. Because at the time when I was reading it, getting into it, I was like, I understand it, but there's some parts that just aren't clicking. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? Let me do a Berserk timeline, Berserk Explained, and then the Berserk Explained series. And I took advantage of that lane and avenue, and I was so grateful for it because I genuinely think it's the greatest manga of all time, and it's my favorite as well. Like, I have such a love for the series, and for it to be what people associate my channel with was such a huge blessing. So those videos did really well. And then in December, my biggest video is The Beauty of the Angry Character. It was for the 10,000 subscriber special. And I was like, my attitude on YouTube is I just want to talk about what I like. So in that video, I talked about certain characters and why they're so intriguing and interesting when they're built around the model of the angry character. Because I relate to that heavily. That's like my biggest emotion. It's like just unadulterated anger at times. And it's what pushes me a lot. So characters like Scorpion, Kratos, Asura, Guts, I was like, let me just put them all into one video. And that video blew up, and it's my most viewed video to this day. Other than that, I'd been doing like reviews on the series. You commented on one of my videos, Mark. I don't know if you remember that.
Was it a Berserk video?
Yeah, it was the I talked about 2016. It was like the worst adaptation ever, and I modeled the thumbnail off of the
That's what it was. Yeah,
off of your movie series on the thing, because I looked at it and I was like, yo, that's a really clean thumbnail. I'll just give them credit though, because I know people are gonna get stingy about it. Hey, you still a thumbnail.
I don't own the color red. Like, I mean,
it's a really good color to use. It's the most attractive one, so I understand it's good for marketing. But over time, now what I'm doing is, over my time whilst doing Berserk content, there was a lot of people asking me to give my opinions and thoughts on other series that are also very critically acclaimed, like Vagabond, Monster, 20th Century Boys, Vinland Saga, that also don't get as much attention as more shonen series. So I saw this lane of covering mangas and more specifically highly critically acclaimed ones and doing reviews on them. And currently that's what I've been doing. I've been just taking what's been mostly suggested to me and covering them, giving them reviews, and really expanding my reach as much as possible so I'm not just limited to one anime or manga anymore, which has been going really, really well. Attack on Titan is one that I've covered recently, has been doing all right for me as well. JoJo's has been the most recommended one to me, so my JoJo's videos do all right. And then the other two series that have been recommended the most is Black Clover and Jujutsu Kaisen. So I'm currently reading Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm hesitant on Black Clover, and I did cover One Piece because I was also halfway through the series when I dropped my first video. And I don't know if all the One Piece fans took it as greatly. Again, it's hard to tell with like tone and intonation when it comes to an actual text or a comment. But I kind of have a reputation for like criticizing anything. Like I can't just praise it. Like I have to point out a negative if it's there. And with One Piece, I had a few frustrations at the time that I was noticing. But again, only halfway point of the series. And recently, I may or may not have kind of lowered the love One Piece fans have for me, because I had One Piece in my top 10 manga at number 5, and after reading 20th Century Boys, reading Oyasumi Punpun, reading JoJo's, and catching up a little more on Kingdom, finishing the Coalition arc, One Piece fell from 5 to 9. So not a lot of people were happy about that, understandably. But that's
so weird. It's so weird because like I'd be the exact This is gonna make me lose like so many nerd points right now, but I don't think I've disliked an anime more than I've disliked JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And I watched part 1, part 2, and I just gave up halfway through part 3. I just couldn't do it.
Okay, so parts 1, 2, and 3 are definitely the weakest. I read it through the manga because
That's
I'm just
such
not
a weird
an anime
thing
watcher.
to say. Half the series is the
I
weakest.
it is. No, it is, because what happens
I
is
have to say it is.
Part
It is.
7 switches to a seinen magazine, and part 7 is like a reboot of the series, so it's like in a different universe, if you will. And part 7 is actually a masterpiece.
I'm kind of
like one through
That's why
3 is meh. 4
yeah, I'm
and
kind
5
of
are
with
good.
Mark though, man. I want to get into JoJo's, but every time I hear someone say, "Oh, the first 3 parts are the weakest," I'm just like, "What?"
I mean,
philosophy
yeah,
is-
that's
I
what
mean,
it is. I was so
like-
hesitant getting into JoJo's. Like, I hated the series getting into it. I
It's
was
a
looking
slog.
forward
It's
to
a
ripping
slog to get through.
Like
It
for,
is. It
for
is.
me, my philosophy whenever it comes to like getting into new content or whatever, like whenever someone says, "Hey, do you recommend anything?" I'll say, "Watch the first episode, maybe 2." So like that's why I really like Attack on Titan. If you don't like the first episode of Attack on Titan, you
You're
will
never gonna
not
like
like
it.
the rest of the
Exactly.
series. I think that's really important. I don't think anyone should be beholden to watching 2 or 3 or 4 arcs to get into a series. I like that. Like, I mean, I think the very first time something like that really like negatively affected me was a friend of mine, and like a friend of mine had recommended this to my friend group, saying, "Hey, we should all get together and watch Bleach." And I'm a person who really likes. I'm a person who like I'm not going to say anything is objectively bad. It's not, because everyone likes different things from different pieces of entertainment. So for me particularly, I really enjoy stuff like Death Note or One Piece or Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan that like really has a clear narrative structure with an ending in mind that has like it's really well written for characters and story beats and what have you. Bleach is just cool things happening, which is great for a lot of people, but we sat down to watch 35 episodes of this thing, and by the time I got to like episode 30, I was literally asleep. It just goes to show like how different people's tastes are. Like Bleach just wasn't for me, but it's definitely like someone's favorite anime out there, of course, you know.
Right. Same with me and Gintama. Right now I'm on episode 55, so I'm nearing the first serious arc. But every episode I watch, I stare at the screen and I'm like, Nux, how do you have this above Berserk? Like
I have
want
it
to
above Berserk,
blow-
bro. This is my thing, bro.
That's why
This
I
is
have
the
to
thing.
watch all of it, because then it's like if I don't, then I feel like I can't really give a fair objective opinion if I only saw the sample size versus another series that I was willing to go through all of it. You feel me?
This is
So,
my
like-
thing, right? Do you
Right.
do you currently dislike the series, or are you just
Oh no,
okay with
I
it?
find it fun, but there's some episodes I can't.
Oh yeah, there are
stand
some. There are some misses. It has some of the worst lows ever.
it. Right.
But this is
Which
the
series
thing.
you're talking about? Which series?
It's
Gintama.
Gintama, so it's like an
Okay.
episodic. It's like the South Park of anime. But what it has is, it has like very
Ah.
serious stretches and an overarching narrative that's happening in the background,
Bro.
and it progressively builds up to it. And the last 200 chapters or 70 episodes is just a stretch of no more gags, no more jokes. It's a lot more serious, massive tone shift. I guess you could even say genre shift, and it just completely transforms.
Bro,
And it builds up to that.
Bro, I started watching, like, speaking of like comedy type things, like I started watching this anime. My girlfriend actually suggested it to me, and I don't know if you got Psyche. Have you got
Oh, that's
Psyche
the
K?
one with the, that's the pink hair kid
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
green
Dude,
glasses.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. That shit's hilarious, bro. Like,
They have a crossover with Gintama. That's why. I
oh, they
recommend it.
does. Oh, wow,
Yeah.
wow. I see. I didn't know that, but yeah, my girlfriend's like, "Yo, watch that." I'm like, "All right, man, I'll watch it." Like, sometimes
Gintama is like the Dragon Ball of comedy. It's like the #1 staple of comedy in the same
So
way.
what's funny
Dragon
about
Ball
that
is like the
sentence is that
staple of
Dragon Ball's
shonen.
actually a comedy.
Yeah.
well, yeah, not a lot. Yeah, not a lot of people realize that he was making like a gag comic. Like that's what it was at first.
Well, no, it's like Akira Toriyama will always say first and foremost, Dragon Ball's a comedy, and it just so happens to be
Actually
like an
never knew
action
that.
thing, which is funny.
Yeah.
But
I
like,
actually never
like
knew
that in
that.
and of itself is funny.
It's so wild.
that-
It's
that
so
is
wild to
news
me,
to
Mark.
me, man.
It's so wild to me, Mark, because like, yeah, see what Fiji just said. Like a lot of people I talk to don't realize it's a comedy. Like, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
I
I
don't.
know. I mean, like people look back and they'll remember like all their like see that was part of the reason why I wanted
is
to make videos
absolutely
because people always kind of like think about it as like the kicky, punchy anime with no substance, and like there's definitely a lot of that to it. But that was why I wanted to make the Goku video. That's why I ended up making the particular series that I did that like gained like some kind of notoriety online, and like it was basically just to make it like an effort to show that there's more perhaps going on underneath the surface to in just things in general that we might not necessarily think about giving another cursory glance at.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I mean, I love, of course, just for growing up with it, and I love Dragon Ball Z. Of course, for what it is. But I really, honestly, like, as an adult, like going back and rewatching, like I enjoy OG Dragon Ball more.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
Like there's a lot in it I like. I like the comedy. It's not like I feel like it's a good balance. It's not like, and it's actually funny stuff. Like it's not like sometimes you watch some stuff and you're like, this is really like, it's not really that funny. It's kind of corny. Like
Gintama.
Chill.
I love
no.
you. Hey, I love you, Nux. If he hears this,
Oh no, but
That hurt me, bro.
I'm
I'm right
sorry,
here, bro.
I'm sorry.
Forget my nuts for a second. Hey, man.
yeah, but yeah, I actually like that. I actually love the humor in Dragon Ball. I think it's funny. I think Goku's hilarious. The fact that he's oblivious to things, like it just like I don't know, man.
You know what I think is like one of the funniest things I've ever heard regarding Dragon Ball Super was Akira Toriyama isn't doing the Dragon Ball Super manga. He's like providing notes for like direction and plot and stuff. But the guy who's actually drawing it and like doing a lot of the writing is a guy called Toyotaro, and he isn't as good as Akira Toriyama in terms of illustration and paneling structure on a manga, and I find that really interesting just to dissect on its own. But at the back of every manga, there's always like a little blurb written about different things, and if anything interesting happened during that particular section's development, then they'll include it there. And one of the things that Toyotaro was talking about in like a small interview that was conducted in the back of the manga was that Akira Toriyama, he loves to edit things, like, but he'll be very particular. Like, he won't give a shit about like this really important climactic battle sequence, but like if he's phrased the joke wrong, or if like something could be like positioned in like a funnier way, he'll say, no, we have to do it this way. And like I just find it so funny that he doesn't care about the things that the fans care about, which like kind of says to me that like, okay, well, I think a lot of people are maybe taking Dragon Ball holding it in a different light, which is totally fine. But like I just think the dissonance between how Akira Toriyama views Dragon Ball and the fans view Dragon Ball is just funny.
Right,
Yeah, for sure. So, yo, Kneecaps, what's the funniest anime you ever seen?
funniest anime I've ever seen is my favorite anime, Nichijou, or I think
Oh,
some
Nichijou?
people pronounce it Nichiju, or it
Nichijou.
could be Psyche. I'm not really sure. It's either a mix between those two. Another runner-up might be like I think it's called Plastic Mason, but Nichijou and Psyche K are like my favorite, especially Psyche K
Yo,
because
Psyche K is hilarious. I
it
just
is, yeah. Nichijou is more of like just like kind of like just unexpected. It's more like an acquired thing, but like Psyche K, like a lot of people can get into Psyche K just because like of how I don't want to say it's like tame or anything like that. It's just that it's just very likable. Like Psyche K is just a really likable type of comedy. Nichijou is more like, you know, you kind of you can show it to a bunch of people. I feel like let's say if you show it to like 10 people, maybe like only 4 people will enjoy it or something like that. But Psyche
I
K,
got you. Is it
like
like
9 out of 10 people
it-
like Psyche
does
K.
it have like comedy that's like there's layers to it type thing? Or-
Not really. No, it's just like really weird. Like sometimes they'll just do like the most random stuff, and then like they'll just have like this weird like fight scene that's like has like 100 frames per second for some reason or something like that. Like it's so weird, you know?
Yeah, I gotta get you to send me a link for that so I can check it out.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, that's hilarious. But yeah, speaking on Psyche K though, yeah, like I was saying, my girlfriend actually suggested it to me, and usually, and if you hear this, babe, I love you, and it's, no disrespect to you, but
Oh.
some of her anime recommendations are trash, and
I felt that.
like so sometimes like I watch some stuff with her and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this, but Psyche K was actually she's like nah babe, I'm telling you, like this is hilarious. I'm like, all right, and then I watched like the first 2 episodes and I was like, yo, this is actually funny, like in the sense of like it's not like overwhelming comedy, but it's like that real, like if you like cynical, like like that, like sarcastic, like that kind of stuff, like bro, the main character is for you. Like literally, he's hilarious, and like his interaction, like right off the bat with his family, like I think it's in the first episode where they're eating breakfast, and like that just that interaction, like I was like, oh man, this is funny. Like this is something I can get with. And I like it because it's not like something I feel like I need to like immediately binge watch, but it's something that I can enjoy, like, maybe when I'm editing or maybe when I'm eating dinner or like whatever. It's like something I can just put on, cause like sometimes it's weird, but when I edit like my audio and stuff, like I'll put stuff on sometimes like in the background. And like my favorite thing to put on while I'm editing audio is BoJack Horseman. That's like, it's weird, but it's kind of become this like ritual now. So like, so I just like will like put it on the TV and like turning the volume down some, and like yeah. So I think Psyche K is like something that you could just watch like when you're doing other stuff too, just to enjoy. I really like it though, man. I'm hoping that once I finish it, it'll be something I actually could recommend to other people. So yeah, but Fiji.
What's good, bro?
Now I know that you're not we're not in the upper tiers of the YouTube rankings yet, but I have high hopes that we will be at some point, and I just want to know, like, for you, you can tell me a little bit about your YouTube journey, but also like, what is like your goal? I guess that's a great question for both of us. Like, what is your goal, and like, what do you set out to accomplish?
Okay, so that's quite a big question. So the YouTube journey, I guess I'll take it from the beginning, right? So towards the end of December last year, my brother's friend, who was a Twitch streamer, ended up giving us his entire gaming PC, monitor, keyboard, mouse, the whole set, the whole shebang. He just gave it to us. He gave up on streaming and he had to focus on work and stuff, right? So I found myself here with a really good quality PC and a mic, a snowball, a webcam, the whole set. And for years now, I've always been interested in making YouTube videos, to the point where I already had some experience with Sony Vegas editing, with Photoshop. So at that point, I wasn't completely not lost. And I told myself, I'm going to drop a video for fun, because at this point, I had already been a part of the One Piece community for a few months now, right? I was on streams with the guys who are content creators. I was in discussions with like with a lot of guys in the community, and I knew a lot of people already within the community. One of my closest friends within the community, Jay, you know him of course, he makes a lot of videos, and I thought to myself, I'm gonna drop my first video. So I went ahead and released a video, and it done decently well. I got a couple hundreds of views, which is quite a lot for a first video, but that's because I had a bit of traction on Twitter, so I managed to get that out, market it and whatnot. And I enjoyed the entire process. It was incredibly enjoyable. And I just continued doing this for a few months. A few months later, we have the Reverie, which is basically a group One Piece YouTuber stream, right? Where the biggest YouTubers of the community all get together, join up in a stream together. These are like big events within the One Piece community. The host this time was a really good friend of mine, Matt B. I was in the chat and he chose to bring me up. I don't know why, just randomly said, you know what, let's get Fiji in there. So me with like 300 subscribers at the time, getting put onto this stream with like thousands of viewers, it was big. It was like it was like getting, you know, brought on stage in like a show or something. You know what I mean? It's something, it was big. So I get on there, I'm talking with Tech King, I'm talking with Rogers Base, I'm talking with lots of big YouTubers, right? And it's quite surreal. And from there, I kind of looked at a goal and I told myself, I'm going to be on this next Reverie. That's the kind of goal that I set for myself, I guess you could say, right? And since then, what happened was the quarantine started. So I had a long stretch of time where I had enough time to go crazy with the content. I managed to grow to about 2,000 subscribers in that time. And I got a bit crazy with the schedule. I was dropping about 4 videos a week, I was doing the best I could. But then very recently I got back into work, and now I'm working from home, so it isn't too much, but eventually I'm going to start to, you know, work Monday to Friday 9 to 5. And that's when I think it's going to get a lot tougher. And I'm just preparing myself for that right now. And while working at home right now, I'm preparing myself already. It's already taken a toll on me, both mentally and physically. I find myself tired at times. I edit all my videos from start to finish. I do have some big videos in the works as well. So it gets very, very tiring. And that's something I need to learn to overcome and to learn to deal with. But right now, I'd say I'm doing pretty good. And I'm quite happy with myself. And the most satisfactory feeling that I've got from this is when I have the same people commenting on every single video. That to me is the best feeling that I've gotten from YouTube, when I see those same names and I actually look forward to their comments and what they think of the video. Because that to me is telling me there are people that genuinely enjoy and look forward to my content. It's more than just me putting it out there and a random person watches it every day. I have people that enjoy watching my video. And that's what I love the most from this entire experience. And that is what, you know, pushes me forward to want to do more and more and more and continue growing. And I've got to say, it's been one of the funnest experiences I've had ever. So I'm excited. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, for sure. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head for me as well. Just to like piggyback off of what you were saying about the, you know, the reoccurring comments, the reoccurring viewers. I also agree like that, like, and it's especially for us since we're like you know, smaller right now. It's much more noticeable for us.
Exactly.
But like those people that were like, for me, exactly, like there's people that were there for me, like from my very first video. The very first video I put out 4 months ago was a video on Enel. And there's still like people that commented on that video are still with me, still there in every video, every stream. And like some of them I've made, you know, moderators on my channel, some of them moderators on my Discord. Like it really means a lot to me. And then like seeing comments, like, you know, I seen a comment the other day that like it wasn't a huge comment, but it really meant a lot to me, and it like really made me like emotional in a way. Like someone just, you know, simply said, you know, Sensei, I've been here since, you know, the beginning, and it really, I'm really proud of you, and I'm really happy that you're starting to get the respect you deserve. And like just seeing a comment like that, like from someone that I know was there like from the very first video, and
It was great, man.
it's an amazing feeling, because like you said, it's like, wow, like these people actually care. Like, and
Yeah.
it's like, you think about it, like, I know it's probably surreal, once you get like a lot of subscribers, but even like now, like I'm at like 2K, right? I in my head, I'm still thinking like, wow, there's I honestly 2,000 people that hit subscribe to my channel. Like, that's just insane. So I can only imagine like how it feels to know like, yo, I have 500,000. Like, Mark's close to, y'all think you're close to 500,000, or even Matt's Man, he's at 60K. Like, yo, that's 60,000 people that hit subscribe on your channel, or that's 500,000 people that hit subscribe on your channel. Like, it's insane to think about. And
Feelings
I
there
try
for
not
a
to
few
think about it, to be
seconds. Same, yeah. The feeling is so there for like a second. I'm like 60,000, and then my mom's like, "Go take out the trash and take the dog out to walk," and I'm like, "Oh, there we go."
Like,
It's so,
that's
yeah,
it. Like, I mean, like, it's just one of those things, right? Like, I find it sort of like I think looking at and focusing on that side of things is not conducive for me to produce good stuff, because, like, again, as I said it earlier, is that, like, as soon as I finish writing and recording a video, I'm done with that video. I don't need to look at anything else. I can just forget about it and move on to the next thing, because that's what I actually enjoy doing. And I enjoy talking to people who like my things, and like I've had the honor of like meeting people who have seen my videos that have actually come out to see me, and that's really, really gratifying and super cool, and it's been one of the most unique experiences of my life. But when it comes to a number going up on a screen, like, it really translates to nothing. Like, it's so awesome, because they, like, that number means that someone has actively, gone out of their way to say, I think I want to see something more from this person. But it's so easy also just to forget that, like, like when it's just a number that goes up on screen, and you don't see their faces or interact with them at all on a one-to-one basis, it's just, you don't really get anything out of it. And I feel like when the number gets to a certain point, it just becomes a statistic. And I think, like, for me anyway, it was very much the case where I needed to kind of sort of distance myself from even keeping tabs on it. I mean, I still don't look at it. You saying that now is probably a more up-to-date thing than I probably had before. My girlfriend usually needs to tell me, "Oh, you got to this and this and this." I'm like, "Cool, that's awesome. I'm really happy people like what I do."
Yeah, for sure. No, in that sense, I agree with you 100%. I don't think that the number translates to anything in that regards. But, like, I'm one of those people that, like, I'm very not that, okay, I'll put it like this. I'm a overthinker, if that makes sense. So, like, it's not that I'm like putting a lot of power into these numbers, because, like, like you're saying, they're just numbers, and everyone's still people, which is why, like, I'm so easily able to approach people with bigger channels and just talk to them like people. Like, when I reply to you and to try to get you on the podcast, I wasn't thinking, oh man, let me talk this guy a certain way because he has 500,000 subscribers. I was thinking, this guy seems like a cool guy, let me just talk to him. And that's kind of how, and that's kind of how I approach everyone. And, like, people always ask me, yo, like, Sensei, how are you getting, like, these big guys on your channel and stuff? Like, you only have, 1,000 subs, 2,000 subs. And it's like, the numbers literally, like, in that sense, don't mean anything. They're still people. Like, they're still just people, just like I'm a person. Yeah. So I don't approach it like, oh man, this guy has a lot of clout, let me talk to him. Like, no, I approach it like, hey, I've seen your content, and I really like it, and this is my podcast, this is what I do, and then I talk to them genuinely. And then, like, I feel like, so for everyone always asks that question. I've never really answered it. So for anyone that's, like, does podcast or, like, wants to collab with another YouTuber and has asked me this question, direct your answers here, right here. I just talk to them like they're a human being, literally. Just approach them. Don't do too much, but also don't do too little. Just go and talk to them like they're a guy you saw on the street. and like, hey, what's up, man? I see.
I feel like this is kind of slowly becoming like a pickup artist version of like getting YouTubers. Like, you know, like just treat them like they're people, you know, because they are, you know.
That's such a good thing to bring up though, because especially talking to Nux and stuff. So also thanks for hitting me up with that, because it's funny that you brought that up, because Nux had commented on a video of mine before, and I was hesitant to hit him up because for me it was like, I know he's extremely busy, he's probably doing stuff, I don't want to bother, I'm doing my own thing. When the proper time comes, it will. And Sensei just so happened to send him a screenshot of that chat. Nux was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then we got to collab, which was really, really cool. But you know, when I hear people talk about YouTubers, especially ones that don't really show their face, they really make us out to be like entities. Like they forget we're human beings behind the camera or behind the screen or whatnot, and that implies so many things. For instance, how we're treated, whether positively or negatively. Like even now, just only at 60,000, I'll get DMs from people and they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I messaged you if you're busy." I'm like, bro, I was just laying in bed looking up at the ceiling. Like, it's surreal to me. But then I myself is like a fan of like Swag Mark Nux. Like, I forget that they're people too also, you know? And so it's like, weird because it goes both ways.
Like, the funny thing is, I actually had a moment exactly like that. I think I was living in Japan for like 2 months once upon a time, and it was around the time where I was making videos as regularly as I was now, but I was also editing them. And I got a comment that was eerily similar to that, where a person was asking me to do something, or maybe to help them with something, or to find something, or whatever, right? And they started it by saying, "Here, look, dude, look, I know you're like you're X, Y, and Z, and like, you know, you're probably super busy and all the rest of it." And I literally just take pause. I look around this tiny apartment that I'm in, just writing on my computer in my underwear, sweating. I'm like, oh yeah, I am the peak of just like royalty right now. I am just like, I'm really like, it's just crazy because, like, I mean, I don't know. I think it's just I can totally empathize though with it in a certain sense, because it's a weird dynamic, because I feel like they know more about us than we know about them, because we share,
for sure.
because we share our lives, and it kind of goes that way. I mean, like, it would be the same situation if I knew more about them than they knew about me, and I wanted to initiate a conversation. It's just very hard, especially online. I find it so much easier to initiate conversation in the real world, whereas online it's just sort of, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, because people have so much open access to you most times, like especially like social media, stuff like that. So it's just like, it's easy for them to just like say something and under a tweet or whatever. So I 100% agree with that. It's like, it's just easy access in a way. But some people even then will like I was saying though, like which I understand. I'll say this though, I can't assume that everyone is like me, because that's just not the case. So like, I understand that like some people might just be nervous because like they're a really huge fan. Like, that's a thing that happens. So it's like, I you know, it is what it is.
It never happens to me. But I refuse to believe that.
Well, some people, it happens to people. Like, and me, and personally, like, I can be a huge fan of someone, but I'll just be like, yo, what up? Like, but that's just me. Like, and you know, I don't think I could. Maybe it's like I think it's like a cultural difference as well. Like, I mean, in Ireland, we in school, like, if someone does really well, they aren't praised for it. They're just like, oh, look at this guy, fucking whatever. And like, we're kind of slagged. It's like we kind of constantly make fun of each other. We're constantly kind of like poking fun at each other. Whereas, so like, whenever I receive a compliment, I feel so uncomfortable. I don't know what to do with that energy. I'm like, I got you.
Like, insult me, do something, you know, be sarcastic. Why are you being so nice to me?
Yeah,
you know, it's like that.
I get that 100%, man. We used to. It's funny you said that, because we used to do this shit like that in high school. Like a report card day will come or some shit. Like, we'll say, like, one of our friends will have like all A's or some shit, and all. We'll be like, oh, look at you got fucking A's. This guy's got A's. like we're fucking just make fun of people. Like like, I think that's just hilarious. Like, where I'm from, like, roasting is like a sign of like respect. Like, if you flame it, if you flame,
you're comfortable.
If you're flaming with somebody, that means like that's the homie. You know, so it's like, that's just kind of regular for me. Like, I like everybody that I really like, like Fiji will tell you, like I've been on Fiji's head a few times, like.
Oh, we've been on each other's head quite a few
Like,
times,
you
bro.
know, like it's just like, like sometimes you just flame the homies, and I it's kind of like, I guess that's what you're saying in a sense, Mark. Like in Ireland, and like I have like a really really good friend of mine lives in Ireland, and like I love every time I talk to him. I love it because we literally just we might hop in like a PlayStation party, start playing a game or something, but we're like the entire time we're just shit talking each other, like literally, like from the time we get on to the time we get off, and we're just laughing, and it's always fun.
Yeah, you can't beat the banter and the crack. Like, I mean, like that's one of my favorite things, and it's one of the only things that I missed, or not the only things. It's one of the main things I missed about Ireland whenever I go abroad is the camaraderie and the sense of like, you can say anything, we're not going to hold it against you, kind of thing. You know, it's just like, because we're all about having fun and all, like having a good time and stuff. Like, now that's not to say that there aren't pricks around here. There absolutely are. Like, like there are everywhere. You know, but like, it's just to what degree are you going to be an asshole to somebody? You know what I mean? But like, I don't know. Like, I feel like a lot of people have that same kind of mentality. It's just it changes from culture to culture. You know, like you call it roasting, but around here we call it slagging. You know what I mean? Like it's
slagging. Yo, that's fire, bro.
it's effectively the same thing, like, you know. But like like for me, right? I don't think of myself as someone that has a very heavy Irish accent or anything. Like, I really don't think I am.
I had
but
no
like,
idea you were Irish till now.
Yeah, exactly. So like, but like some people in my country like saying like I can't tell what accent he has, and that's predominantly because whenever I'm doing a podcast or whenever I'm doing a like, you know, a video or whatever, anything that needs my voice being recorded, I always neutralize my accent and I try to speak more clearly and slowly, because around here we speak much faster and we speak with a much more heavy accent than we talk this, that, and next thing, you know, like just different things like that.
Any chance I could get an example of that, or?
But like
on the spot, you never ask a man to do it on the spot.
Yeah, I got to, bro. We're here. This is chat and rap, baby.
But like, I mean, like, I don't exactly know what you want me to say. Like, I mean, you're talking here now, right? I'm here now talking with my, like, this is sort of the accent I'd be using there now around my family, and like it
shows a little,
but like even around like you guys now, right? You're like there's one Brit among you, I think, but like like the rest of you are American, so I sort of meet your level. So it really depends on what kind of like situation I'm in. Like if I'm with my family and they're all from the countryside, I get a much thicker accent and
bro,
stuff
it's
like
so funny, Mark, because like with me, right, it's literally the same. It's just like it's in people's eyes it's different, because I'm going from like one kind of like accent, American accent, to another, and you're coming from like a different country accent to another. So like it's like for some people it's a bigger deal when it's like foreign to American, but like honestly it's the same thing. Like when I do videos, like this is not my voice right now. Like this is this is my this is my recording voice.
Oh yeah,
this is the best version of your voice.
You know what's so crazy to me? So I've been at home for a really long time without going out because of the quarantine or whatnot. I mean, I go to the grocery store, go to the local, you know, Sainsbury's, buy myself like stuff I need for the house, but I don't actually go out and interact with people much. But a few days ago I had to go do something for work, and it was the first time I was around a different crowd for the first time in months, and I'm on the internet every day talking to people, so I've developed this new sort of dialect, this new sort of voice. Yeah, I guess you could call it that, bro. I've developed this new sort of voice. I've incorporated American slang into the way I speak, and it's become a whole mess. But a few days ago, so I'm thinking to myself, when I get there, am I gonna sound like an idiot? But I automatically switched back to the way I spoke like before the whole quarantine. So it's like it's automatic. You won't even notice it. It's just you speak differently amongst different crowds a lot of the time.
Absolutely, but like
it's like that me a lot, yeah. But
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that for me, so I'm originally, like, I was born in Puerto Rico, so my native language is Spanish. So when I'm around like my family inside the home, I'm just normally speaking Spanish, but even in Spanish there are different accents. So when I went to Spain to play in a tournament for like 2 weeks, I came home and I sounded like if I was a Spaniard. Like, it's so weird. I genuinely adopt accents. Like, I don't know if y'all could tell if I ever told y'all that I was Hispanic.
I had no idea.
Assume,
I didn't know.
Yeah, they just think the people that see me, they think I'm half Asian, half white. But yeah, I'm just Puerto Rican, so I'll talk normally in English. Entonces yo puedo cambiar a español. So it like switches a little bit, and depending on who I'm around,
it's like a magic trick.
It really is. And I remember one time my Spanish teacher walked up to me during lunch, and we were having a conversation, and I was holding the conversation with him. He stopped to talk to another teacher. I switched back to English and then switched back into Spanish. Bang, bang, bam, boom. And sometimes that kills me in videos. Because when I don't script, so when I'm speaking on the spot, certain words come to me in Spanish, so I have to translate like mid-video.
That's hilarious.
For instance, it is weird because, for instance, I saw JoJo's Part 1 and 2 when I was in Puerto Rico. I saw Dragon Ball, the Saiyan Namek saga, and I think half of the Cell saga in Puerto Rico, and I saw like the Buu saga here in the U.S. And so there are certain things that when I say it, I have to change it because I'm so tempted to just say Goku instead of Goku. And it kills me. But yeah, that's
really cool. I realized, like around Ireland, like I actually have something very similar. So like I'm from the south of Ireland. So I would imagine that like no one in America really knows what the south of Ireland's accent is, because it's nothing like the Dublin accent. That's the Conor McGregor, which is "I'll kick you, you bleeding fool, you." like everyone knows that accent. It's the heavy Dublin accent, and that's actually a more British version of the Irish accent. The Irish accent is closer to like Western Ireland, all that kind of stuff. But there's varying degrees of it. But like when I first started doing Dragon Ball videos, I had to like train myself how to say Vegeta, because I had gone so long using Vegeta. So like it's subtle, but everyone kept saying you're saying Vegeta wrong. You're saying Vegeta, which is like, you know, the big cat, like, you know.
Yeah.
But like that's just the way we speak around here. And
don't tell me I'm saying words wrong. I'm saying it how I'm supposed to say it. Like,
right.
Yeah,
some words work. Some words work for me because there are certain ones, like in Spanish, they're pronounced similar to Japanese. So, for instance, Jotaro, Broly, like stuff like that.
Because you roll your R's, Broly.
Yeah, roll the R's. So, like people get so confused with me because at times I'll try and translate it into English. So, for instance, in JoJo's, it's jamon, but I said Hammond because I was trying to translate in English. They just don't let you have anything.
Sounds so much. It sounds so shit. Like then, like Hadamon.
Dude, they were on Fiji's head in the last podcast because of how he was saying Kurapika.
No, because
Kurapika?
Yeah, they're on your head, yo.
When you say Hadamon just sounds so sexy. It sounds so legit, and then like Hammond sounds like I'll have some ham and cheese and toast kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
That time.
Oh, Mark, I was meant to ask you this because someone in my Discord who's like a diehard Hunter fan. And he's probably gonna watch this video.
I know exactly what you're gonna ask, and I've been asked the question about 1,000 times on Twitter. I don't know what I'm gonna do after I finish the review series.
Oh no, not that. Just if you've ever checked out Hunter
Sorry,
Hunter.
go ahead.
No, just if you've ever checked out Hunter Hunter, or if you're interested in it.
I have watched the first arc, and I thought it was really, really good. And I just stopped because I didn't have enough time to do it. But if there's a very good chance that I might cover it at some point because I think it's worth seeing. I definitely think it's really good.
If you enjoyed the first arc that much, then yeah.
Hunter Hunter takes it up a notch. So to the man Crollo in the Discord, you happy? I did it. Leave me alone. Love you.
Hey, Crollo.
Out here asking the questions for the fans, baby.
Crollo go.
Dude, they do that all the time. I love that. They're like, if I like, I'm like, I'll tell my Discord like, oh yeah, guys, because they always want to know, and that's like something that I do for my Discord. Like people that are in there, I'll like give them information beforehand, like other people will know. So I'll tell them like who's coming on the podcast this week or whatever, and then they just flood me with questions. Ask him this, hey Sin, ask him this for me. Ask him this. I'm like, it's hilarious, but it's impossible. There's no way I can ask all those questions, but. Unless we're here all night, but that's just not going to happen. So, but I try to ask most of the questions that they want me to ask, you know, at least. But
yeah,
we're at the midpoint of the podcast, so I want to. I feel like we had a very good conversation. Excuse me. We had a very good conversation. I want to shift things into pre-time skip One Piece a little bit. Let's talk about some pre-time skip One Piece since we have Mark
Oh,
here
lovely.
who has reviewed all the way up. I don't think did you put your Thriller Bark video out yet? I don't
No,
think you have.
it's going up tomorrow.
Okay, going up tomorrow. So, yeah, okay, cool. So this will come out the same day that comes out. You guys can check that out. If you hear this before you see that, go check that video out. But yeah, so the Mark has read all the way up until the end of Thriller Bark, correct?
Yes.
All right, cool. So first and foremost, Mark, I have to ask, who's your favorite Straw Hat?
I think
You know, it's actually funny, right? Because I actually post this on Twitter a number of times as the chapters come out. Like it keeps changing, and for a long time, this is actually a particular section of my next video, because for the longest time it was Sanji, and I really liked Sanji as a character. I thought he was like a really cool blend of like really obviously flawed, but also really integral to so many different storylines in a very creative way that offered so many different really unique subversions. And I really liked the mechanics that made him who he was and what he offered to a story. I really liked him as a character is what I'm trying to say in a really long-winded way. But one thing that happened in Thriller Bark that I really just didn't like made him much less interesting to me, and like I don't know, it sort of rubbed me the wrong way, and I think it's because of perhaps my Irish Catholic upbringing, guilt kind of thing. But like I just really didn't like a certain scene that happened with him in the latest arc. And I think now Nico Robin is really fun. I think she's really fun. She did like I think every time she does something, it's really cool, and it's really
Mark.
Boys,
No,
quiet.
he's-
Y'all-
no,
y'all are
I
low-key
think-
spoilers.
I think he's
Music, I'm
laughing
not-
because.
I'm not finished yet, because I'm still speculating, because I actually don't know who my favorite is, so I'm going to decide.
Okay.
I'm going to decide it live. So
Okay.
Zoro specifically at the end of I actually felt that I got the feeling
God,
right
here
that
we go.
I got the feeling that Zoro was actually a really boring character for like the first 400 chapters. Let me explain why. I got the feeling that while I was watching it, or reading it, sorry, I should say, while I was reading it, I felt that this guy is the obvious favorite for so many people.
Yeah.
And I guarantee it's only because he does cool things. But the thing is, for me, what I find the most interesting is when a character is flawed and makes mistakes and picks himself up and does things, right? But for like 400 chapters, or at least when more Straw Hats became involved, his involvement became more and more diluted. And because he isn't a very conversational character initially anyway, whenever he did something, it would always be short and to the point, which is fine, but it's not that interesting. And he'd always be in charge of defeating the second strongest guy, which is again the second strongest guy and not the strongest guy. So for the longest time, he was always behind Luffy for me, and he still is. I think Luffy's a fantastic protagonist, and I can get it. And I could talk about Luffy for like an hour, but Zoro at the end of Thriller Bark, I think it's kind of like, I think while it doesn't make the last 400 chapters that he's been in more interesting in retrospect, I think that was a really good utility and use of his character and what he offers. So that's Sanji, Robin, that's Zoro. Usopp, I think, is a really obvious example of a character that just offers so much to a series, and I really love everything Usopp's been a part of.
He's a really good one.
That's a W.
He brings comedy. He's got He's one of the most interesting goals in the crew as well.
Oh yeah. Well, like I think like anything that he gets involved with is automatically interesting because he's always on the back foot, and that's really when a character is like. When a character is going into a situation you know that they are over prepared for, the intrigue comes from that their opponent realizing how fucked they are, right?
Yeah.
And I get that's fun, and that's sort of Zoro's role, but once that's done, it's very short-lived. Whereas when Usopp is interacting with things, trying to seeing him figure out in real time how to figure out this impossible situation is always funny, and it's always character rich, and it's always purposeful, and it really does a good service to the series.
Yeah, I think the fact that like Usopp, like you said, is always on the back foot for me, it just makes it seem like for me every time there's a moment that's involving him, it has no choice but to be deeper than certain other characters because there's just so much that has to go into the moment because he's not strong. Like he's not strong, so there's always going to be more there. Like
and like I think that adds a nice little bit of flavor as well because you have like essentially like a cast that's getting larger and larger, so he needs to stand out more, and he's being surrounded more and more by these demigods like Luffy and fucking Zoro and Sanji. So like he has to find a way to like, you know, make up the difference, and he does in really unique ways. And I find that like I think he's definitely like, or at least throughout like Water 7 and Enies Lobby, I felt that he was like the heart of the series kind of thing, and he's also a great point of view character in terms of utility. He'll ask the questions about things and inform the audience, creating natural exposition, which is great. I think Chopper's really boring, but I think Chopper. Okay, so no, I'm not.
Chopper peaked in Drum Island for me. I'm not.
I actually didn't really like him in Drum Island. I actually like him more now. But
oh wow, that's where we disagree.
I thought Drum Island was fine. I thought because I didn't watch the anime, I only read the manga, and I thought the manga made, I thought the manga made Dr. Hideduke a maniac. I really didn't like him at all. He breaks into a house, scares a child, shoots his mother, and kills his father. And then breaks the window and goes on to the night. Like, it's not just different. Like, the entire flashback hinges on us liking that character in order for us to sympathize then with Chopper. And I couldn't get past hating that character. And when the story was trying to tell me that, well, he's actually just this, like, you know, he's got really good intentions, he shot and killed the guy. Like, I understand that, like, you want to be able to help people, but like, they didn't establish that there was a doctor shortage. They just showed me a character that was just a maniac, and I was like, I didn't get it.
I've never heard that take before.
But when it comes to Chopper, I just found him. So like, I feel like when it comes to Zoro and Sanji, I feel like when Sanji came along, I thought he was very, very like Zoro. But when the subsequent arcs came out and we learned more and more about Sanji, Oda sort of like leans into the aspects of Sanji that make him distinct and different to Zoro more and more, which really helps him, because otherwise he'd just be standing in Zoro's shadow. So like, I feel like Oda does this thing where he'll take certain tropes and create characters out of them. And I think where in the same way Sanji is like Zoro, but I would argue more interesting, I would say that Chopper is like Usopp, but less interesting. So Chopper is scared. He cares about people, and he has a cuteness factor. The cuteness factor is sort of the aspect of him that is like distinct to Usopp, similar to in a similar way to like Sanji being a ladies' man is distinct to Zoro. But the difference is that the cute factor just doesn't work on me. It doesn't translate as well in the manga, I think. I actually watched G8 and I thought the cuteness factor really translates much more effectively in that medium, especially with the voice acting by the voice of Pikachu. Yeah, I think it's amazing. But but when I finished Enies Lobby, seeing the transformation that the extra like drawbacks that come with stockpiling a Rumble Ball, I thought that was a really good idea, because I'm a huge fan of moves like the Kaioken that like it has built-in stakes and risk associated with it, and I really like that aspect of it. And it also turns Chopper's character completely on its head. What other Frankie? He's still too new for me to really get a full grasp on, and Brooke, I would say, is still too new for me to fully kind of have an opinion on. So I would say, if I was to rank the Straw Hats. Oh, so I forgot Nami.
Yeah, did you talk about Nami? I was just about to say that.
Yeah, Nami. Actually, I think I really like Nami. She was my favorite character up until, I want to say, after Arlong Park. Like, she was my favorite character for a while, because I really liked the idea of a character that wasn't strong, but didn't need to be strong to get the upper hand and make the clutch plays. Yep. But I really am not a fan of fan service. I really find it crass and crude and unnecessary. And I feel like the longer the series goes on, because there are more characters being introduced, she becomes reduced to a damsel in distress and fan service, which I think is a disservice to the character, because I think she's much more interesting than that. And that's sort of why I like Robin now, because she's sort of she's just a character. She doesn't need to be a woman to be her character. It's just that she is a good character, and I find her interesting that way. Like there's a particular scene at the end of Thriller Bark where she like really just outplays and outdoes Moria, breaking his neck, but it turns out that it was a shadow, and I have a whole thing about that. But like I thought that was I think the ruthless nature she employs her I was going to say quirk from my Her Academia, her devil fruit ability. I think that's really interesting as well. But like I just think from a personality standpoint, she is so different to everyone in the Straw Hats too that automatically helps her stand out. But okay, so if I was to rank my Straw Hats, I would say right at the moment it's probably Usopp, Luffy, Robin, I think Sanji and
He's stuck.
I feel like Sanji and Zoro can share a spot. Sanji used to be my top, like, and I would probably say Frankie, Brooke, Frankie, Chopper. That's probably the way I'd have it.
Can I ask? Can I ask what Sanji moment it was in Thriller Bark? Was you're gonna have the review out tomorrow, right? It was the Absalom scene, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So me, I'm the reason Sin was laughing wasn't because of anything like that happens later on. It's just because I am infamous for really disliking Sanji. So I
want to hear your point of view for why you think I dislike Sanji, given what you think I know right now at the moment.
I would say it's because basically how his perversion and his desire for the invisibility and that ability it kind of taints his entire ideal with the chivalry.
Well, you see, that's it, right? So, like, in my video, I specifically say that I felt like this arc made me feel like I got the wrong impression of who Sanji was. So, yeah. In my video, I specifically say that I thought Sanji was sort of a person that was closer to like a Brock from Pokemon type character, someone that loves women and that like treasures them and like, you know, wants to protect them, and that mindset in and of itself is a flaw, but it comes from a good place. Yeah. Whereas when I saw that like Absalom throughout the entire arc, Absalom and Dr. Hogback are the two biggest villains, I would argue, in Thriller Bark, and I really hated Absalom because like so much so I didn't Absalom. I really hated him so much so I didn't even bother learning his name because I hated him that much. Honestly,
he is very detestable.
Yeah, and I thought that scene with Nami in the shower honestly went a bit too far. Personally, for especially for a children's
a shonen audience, I can see that.
I thought that was disgusting, and I was so thrilled to see that like the person that was going to be like avenge Nami in this particular instance was going to be Sanji, because I loved Sanji. But for him then to do a complete 180 and just say, "Oh, I actually I'm not actually this angry because of what you did. I'm this angry specifically because you took the fruit that I wanted," and that's just disgusting. That's despicable to me. That's irredeemable, and like it's a really awful thing to say to someone about something. You know, I don't know, like that.
Yeah,
like
a lot of, and I won't go into too many details. But that's in the community. A lot of people that have issues with Sanji, it's a lot to do with things that are relatable to that scenario that you're speaking of. And it's for me.
I think
for me, okay, I'll say this. I'm in the same boat that you are, Mark. Like, for me, pre-time skip Sanji was peak Sanji, and I completely loved this character, especially, Bharati. Then he has moments in Water 7 I really loved, and this lobby I really loved. Like, I really loved Sanji's character. I still have love for Sanji's character, and I still have this ridiculous hope for Sanji's character, and that's just what it is. But I feel like in the same sense of ways that you you were speaking on, you know, the Absalom moment. I also, you know, just being someone that grew up, and not to get like super meta or super like realistic with, because it is anime and manga, but it's being someone that grew up in a household, you know, with all women. For me, you know, seeing stuff like that, it does bother me. It does rub me the wrong way. Even though,
like it's
go ahead.
because like yeah, no, sorry. It's just like for me, it just really flew in the face of what I thought his character was.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Exactly.
like I thought it was so much more interesting when you have a character that, like, again, leans more into the chivalrous aspect than the perverted aspect. Because obviously, you know that he likes women, like,
Yeah.
and all the rest of it. And I think them flirting with the idea that like he really likes women and he thinks that they're pretty, that's fine. That's totally fine. But it's just like, when you take, like, I feel like Thriller Bark took it to like such an extreme where I
Yeah.
just don't think, like, it becomes something else.
Something,
you took-
exactly.
You took a nuanced character that was, in my opinion, more interesting because he was flawed in that he idolized these things as he saw them as things to protect rather than people, and like but because it came from a good place of wanting to protect and nurture and see them as, like, you know, he saw himself as someone that was dutiful in providing this for them, and I thought, okay, that's a really interesting angle to take this particular character.
Exactly.
And when you downplay that and simplify it to just a tired, old, weird anime trope that doesn't make me laugh and I never particularly found interesting at all, and it's only played for laughs, I just think it really does a disservice to what that character could have done later.
For me, like, okay, for me, like, it was personified because, you know, you have the you know, moment with Khalifa, right, where a lot of people, and I initially, until you know now I don't have a problem with it as much, but before, and prior, when I first was reading, I had an issue with the Khalifa situation at first, and like I really was like stuck on this like ideal of, I don't understand like why, like, I know like how he is with women, I understand, but I just don't
What
get,
did he do with
like,
Khalifa? Again, I forget.
well the fact, like, and some people have an issue with this, and I had an issue with this at first, but now that I understand his character better, I don't. But beforehand, I was stuck on the fact that why would Sanji not, like, I understand she's a woman, but why would he risk like putting his crew in danger, not fighting Khalifa? Like, and then that was like a thing that I really was harking on for a while. And like, but after a while, I started to understand Sanji's character more, and like I kind of like, okay, it makes sense now. But then for me, when the Thriller Bark thing happened with Absalom, that's why it bothered me, because I'm like, okay, the Khalifa moment was, in some people it's a minuscule moment for some people, but it's a big moment for others, and for me it was a big moment. I really, you know, looking back on it, was like, okay, moments like this is like why I kind of learned to respect Sanji's character, because of things like this. He's so strong, he feels so strongly about, like you're saying, protecting, nurturing, like, women in general, that he won't even fight this. He would not even fight her. And like it's like a powerful moment for me. But then like the Absalom moment happens, and I'm like, for me, like you said, it kind of like belittles that
special.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's my issue, right? That's my main thing. My issue with Sanji as a whole, I would say, and that scene in particular, is that scene could have been phenomenal for his character, that Absalom scene, because that whole perversive nature that he has, the whole perversion with Sanji, that's a character flaw, right? And that flaw isn't, I don't think it's handled well, because it isn't touched up on in a way that benefits his character. What I think it does, and this is obviously open to interpretation, and I've debated this numerous times with people, but what I think those perversive tendencies do is, I feel like they completely shit on his ideals and go against what he stands for so vehemently. At times, not all the time. Sometimes the perversion is kind of just, it's overlookable, but there's times, like the Absalom time and other times in the series, where I feel like it goes against what he stands for. And the reason that is so infuriating to me, like, about his character, is because Sanji as a character is somebody who I admire for the fact that he is incredibly he is passionate for what he stands for. He won't use his hands to fight, so he won't use his hands to fight. That's it. Like, he will never ever use his hands to fight because that is just for cooking. He is incredibly passionate about what he does, and he doesn't go against that. And then what I perceive to be his perversion, it goes against that, in my opinion. And that's what I kind of dislike
I
about
totally
his
agree.
character.
And but the thing is, like, that's sort of like exactly what I was saying, and that's exactly what I say in this video, is that like he like what I thought he was, being a person that idolizes women and sees them as, like, you know, something to protect and to avenge, and all the rest of it. That in and of itself is a character flaw. And
Yeah,
that's an
yeah.
interesting character flaw. And like when you mentioned thing about Khalifa and stuff, it's actually highlighted there, that specific character flaw, because Nami
Yeah,
actually calls him out.
exactly.
And like that's a beautiful, I was like, this is brilliant. This is amazing. And it's like, oh, he's so my favorite character, because I've never seen
Exactly, yeah.
because I ironically, I was so tired of seeing the Master Roshi type character where they're just like, oh, I like boobs, get it, haha, that's the joke. And like, I hate that. It's so like, whatever about it being degrading and all the rest of it, that's obvious, but it's just from a narrative level, it's just so boring. It's
Doesn't
so
do
done.
anything for the character.
It doesn't do anything. It doesn't
Yeah,
do
it
anything.
doesn't. It
Right.
doesn't. It's just played
I
out
think the
for
only
flaws.
I think the only time it works, when I've seen it implemented, it's not made a big deal, however, but for instance, in certain characters, like in Berserk, for instance, it's added to make them even more of a detestable human being or villain. That instead of caring about the other human being, they're so like.
Oh yeah,
off
I
of
mean,
their
like
primal
Epsilon is that
instincts.
character.
Right, yeah. And
So,
that
yeah,
works,
that's
but if
good
you're
for
having a
Ryan,
character
yeah.
who's trying to, you build them up based off of virtues that
And-
even though those virtues can get in the way of logic, you can still understand it because it's their virtues. But then when it's like thrown out of the window, then you're like, okay, then what the heck?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just it just really just didn't make sense to me. And honestly, I think I say this, and I quote, "It only served to make the character less interesting for me." Whereas every other fight in that arc, every other fight except the Moria fight, and I'll get to that later. But like every other fight that the Straw Hats, like Zoro had and Nami had, and like, you know, every other fight that any character had in that arc, always served to make their character better. Like Usopp's fight against Perona was the best fight in the arc, and I will fight anyone who disagrees.
Oh, amazing fight. I wouldn't say it's the best because I personally love the group fight against Oz, but that is an amazing fight.
I will actually argue. Okay, so I know a lot of people love the fight against Oz, right? But okay, I think Oz is a really fun character for as long as Luffy is Oz. But as soon as Oz loses his
Moria?
personality,
Oh, okay.
but like as soon as Oz loses his personality and, like, you know, becomes in control of like what he is and whatever,
Dude.
I think he's the most boring antagonist there has ever been in One Piece, because he's just a zombie. He's just a
Yeah.
vessel. There is no
I
personality.
just have to say,
I
like,
get that.
I just have to say, like, there's so much hate against Thriller Bark, and I that, like, in the
There's so
community,
much.
and it's like, bro, I really like Thriller Bark, bro. I think the comedy in Thriller Bark is like
hilarious.
top tier, bro. Like,
I think there's more to like in Thriller Bark than there is to dislike, but it just so happens that the parts that I disliked in Thriller Bark were pivotal moments in the story.
Yeah,
Okay,
I can see that. I just think that, like, the hate it gets is a little bit unwarranted. Like the
it's-
amount of hate, like.
It's ridiculous. You probably don't know, Mark, since you're not like you try to stay away from.
I have no
spoilers
idea,
in the
yeah.
community. So yeah, it's like, it's compared to every arc, like before and after what you're reading, it's completely like it's they call it a snooze fest. People say it's skippable. So like some people genuinely say that. So
Oh no, it's definitely got like really, really good moments, and there were moments in it where I legitimately cried, and it took me by surprise and stuff. I really like the beginning up until the middle, and I really like after the climax. Like,
after the climax, Brooke.
And there are so many, like, you know, as I said, like every fight really in it, before the main fight, leading up to it, like every fight except Sanji's fight, I really, really, really liked. Like,
Bro.
as I said, I would say that there is far more to like in Thriller Bark than there is to dislike, but I can totally understand why people don't like it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's fine for people to say I dislike Thriller Bark, but the hate, like, people legitimately will say, like, it's like, oh, this is the worst arc. Some people are like, some people literally have, like Fiji said, have skipped the entire arc. Like, how do you do that?
I don't think like this thing. Okay, so so in my video, I talk about things that I like and things that I dislike, but I'll never say that I dislike something without giving a complete detailed explanation as to why I think that.
And that's fine. I love that. I just don't like baseless like slander of something, especially like there's
like most YouTube comments.
Yeah, pretty much. But
this series is trash. Period. And then someone replies facts, and all of a sudden, yes.
I agree with you, Mark, on the fact that it's fine. I understand that some people won't like Thriller Bark, but like for me, it's not even just Thriller Bark. Anything in general. Like if you're gonna critique something, like at least have your reasonings for it. Like
but like. There's a really good way to work around that, though. I always just assume that anyone that comments on anything is 12, and it all of a sudden makes it much easier to just ignore.
Yo,
I wish I could do that, but I talk about Berserk, so the likelihood of that being the case is not. I literally look at this like these are grown men, older than me, because whenever I mention my age, everyone's always so taken aback by it.
Yeah.
I think Fiji, you're younger than me, aren't you?
Nah, I'm 19, so I'm a bit older than you.
Oh, I'm the youngest one here. Okay, 18. But
whoa, you're assuming Kneecaps' age?
Wait, I'm so sorry. Oh, don't cancel me. Kneecaps, how old are you, bro?
7-year-old kid, so.
Yo, that would be the most. Imagine a little kid and he speaks and his voice is as deep as Kneecaps. That is hilarious. I also feel bad because, like, Kneecaps, how much of One Piece have you seen? Because I remember you on the last podcast with me, but you and I think, spoke the least.
Yeah, I just kind of just wait for cues. That's fine.
Just chill. You shout it out, get the views. I remember the comments on that last one. I think the top one was like, "We're here for Kneecaps," and I was just like,
It's just some toxic.
Yeah, bro. No, that's why I hit Kneecaps up. I was like, "Yo, Kneecaps, like, I'll bring you back on," and like, I'm gonna have an entire conversation at some point in this podcast with Kneecaps for his fans. You know what I'm saying? Because his fans, they were in the comments like, "Here for Kneecaps." People were playing. Not enough Kneecaps. I don't know.
Kneecap. I saw the occasional masked man one, and I was like, "Hey!"
Bro, I see. I get a lot of those. I see Kneecaps. I click comments.
Oh yeah.
So at some point, we're after this One Piece talk, I'm going to talk with Kneecaps. I'm going to get him in here for y'all. I promise. I swear. I swear. But what were we talking about? Oh yeah, Thriller Bark. So there's like so much hate, and it's like, I get it, you don't like it, but like, it's not the worst thing ever.
I actually don't have any idea how much hate there is for it online or whatever, right? But like I feel like, just as a YouTuber talking about Dragon Ball and stuff, if ever I find something that if I see that there's a popular opinion prolific about something that I disagree with, I feel like I notice it so much more because it's something that I disagree with. Whereas if I was in your position and I agreed with like a lot, like I think Thriller Bark is probably the weakest so far. I wouldn't say it's bad, but I would say that I don't think Act 3 works as well as it should at all. And we can get into that and all that kind of stuff if you want, like, but I think basically the point I'm trying to make is that I think when we disagree with a particular opinion that's prolific, it becomes much more obvious because it's something that we disagree with. Whereas if we agreed with it, we just wouldn't notice it at all.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I for me, Mark, it's like it's unprovoked for me. Like sometimes, like I don't even like bring it up or look for it. It kind of like, I'll say, for instance, right? It mostly, oddly enough, it'll be in like streams, and it'll be the homies sometimes. It might either chat, like I'll just like mention Thriller Bark, like because it's kind of relevant to the conversation, and unprovoked. Oh, that's trash. Why you like come on, like I can't. Can I just mention it? Can I just mention it?
Do you think?
I want to find something here. I want to find something here that like one of us like really disagrees on, and I want to argue with that person until one of us is proven wrong or right. I want to do something savage like that. Okay. So like, you can ask me questions about Thriller Bark, and if something stands out and someone really disagrees with me, I want to have it out with one of you. I really do.
Okay.
I'm very indifferent. I was just gonna throw this out though, real quick, before we do get into that. And this is something I tend to notice when it comes to certain arcs within any anime or manga. But do you think part of the reason Thriller Bark gets looked down upon so much is because it comes before Marineford and right after Enies Lobby and Water 7? I usually notice that with certain things. It's like when you have a phenomenal arc or a top tier one, and then you have one
Well, I
that
hear
isn't
that a
up to
lot.
that quality,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden people overreact to it.
I hear that a lot though. Honestly,
like-
I've heard that. I've
yeah.
heard people say like bring that up. Like, how do you have
That's
like
why they
how do
say
you have
skip it.
yeah? Why do you have Water 7 in this lobby and then Thriller Bark? Like people say stuff like
okay.
that.
All right, yeah,
I
because I'm
don't.
not that
I-
familiar with the One Piece community either.
I'll,
other than
I'll tell
yeah.
you specifically why. I actually like. There's actually like a theoretical answer in terms of narrative to actually answer that question. And
Right,
it's,
okay.
it's understandable. So, everything, whether everything in art, whether it be paintings, music, films, everything works on anticipation. You like the music that you like because you're familiar with it. Because you grew up in America, I would assume that you listen or have an ear for classical Western style accompaniment and arrangements, which is basically verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. And the reason why that works so well is
Sounds
because
accurate.
well, yeah. Well, like the reason why that works so well is because everyone is familiar with it. Now, they don't want everything to be so derivative that it becomes similar, but everything builds on anticipation. Like the drop in a particular song works because there's anticipation, and you can't have like so. Like in other words, what I'm trying to say is that you can't. If you're telling a story, it can't be one concurrent long climax all the time. Otherwise, everything just becomes boring. It's the same way that, like, if you were always happy, you would, in theory, always be sad, because
Exactly.
happiness is
exist.
derived because it's happiness is recognized because there are the dark times.
Yeah.
So
Right.
so when you have things like One Piece, right, where they'll do Water 7, Enies Lobby, and then they'll trail off into something like Thriller Bark. The reason why that happens is because Water 7 is a saga that builds up and climaxes at Enies Lobby, and then it resets. You have to reset at a certain point.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Because like it can't stay at Enies Lobby all the time. Because
Yeah,
if
exactly.
it does, it starts feeling forced and silly.
Exactly,
So, like-
and we know that, but the fans don't. I don't think realize
Yeah.
that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean,
and,
like,
and then that's why
it's-
they get upset. But it's like we know that there can't always be peaks. There has to be like this build up.
valleys. There have
Calm
to be
moments.
valleys.
Yeah.
But they don't understand that. They just want like when they see something great, they just want it to keep going forever and ever and ever. But it's like
Well,
when you
like,
have
that's
something.
actually a good thing. That's actually a good thing because like whenever I see a comment like that, okay, well then I think, okay, well then they're either naive or they're young, which is totally fine to be either. And I was for a very long time, but it just comes from a place of just wanting to see more of this awesome stuff that you enjoy.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
They
Like,
want
I mean,
the
like,
hype. They
people-
want the hype moments, man.
Exactly, and that's sort of the reason why I sort of made the Goku video that you're talking about there earlier, which was that like a lot of people like look at Dragon Ball as like the kick punch anime without much substance, and while there is a lot of kicking and punching, there is also a lot of substance to it, and there's a lot of design behind it. Like Goku is the way he is because it serves a particular purpose within the story.
Right.
Thriller Bark
BBs.
exists because it serves a particular purpose within the story, and I can appreciate that. I'm never going to criticize Thriller Bark for being like inactive or like not progressing anything, because it does.
Yeah.
But
I'm-
it does it in different ways.
I respect your opinion 100% because you're like giving me reasoning. Like it's just like that's my thing. Like I really like don't mind at all people having opinions. I actually like having a difference in opinions with people because I really feel like it makes for good conversation. But it's just I just want like if we're gonna have a
Civil
conversation about
discussion.
something, like just let's have a civil discussion. Let's like put our points on the table and let's talk it out. Let's not. I don't
Right.
Like if you ever have that conversation with someone again, just say this: is the drop in a particular song effective if the entire song is a drop? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that pretty much just sums it up. It's the exact same thing for storytelling.
Right.
Yeah,
And
I think-
that's
I think
what ends up
BBC
helping Marineford out a lot.
Yeah.
Because then you have like Thriller Bark, your expectations are low, you might be a little disappointed with certain things. And then here we enter.
Oh, you
like,
guys.
Don't
arguably.
say anything. You can't say anything because I haven't seen Marineford.
No, I'll be quiet from now on.
Yeah.
Right, I'm done.
But But yeah, I think DBZ does a really good job at building up hype, man. Like,
Oh, it does.
like
man.
oh my god, like the amount of hype that like DBZ can create. Like, you guys remember, like, I'm sure you, well, I know Mark of course will, but you guys remember like when the Tournament of Power was going on, like every week, like it's just breaking the internet, like all the time.
What I actually thought was like really cool about that particular thing, and it was I never actually had this feeling before, and it was the very first time that Dragon Ball actually made me cry, and it wasn't even necessarily to do with Dragon Ball. It was I think it was for the last 3 episodes of Dragon Ball Super, basically showing the climax to the Tournament of Power. And there were these massive screens in public squares of like showing the last 3 episodes live in like Latin America, in like across Mexico, Puerto Rico, like South America, like all these different countries that were just absolutely in love with Dragon Ball. And I didn't know that Latin America was so in love with Dragon Ball. I think that's amazing.
Oh yeah.
But like seeing all those massive gatherings of people like cheering as if it was like the World Cup final, you know, and it was just so amazing to see so many people unabashedly showing their appreciation and love for a series and their hype for a series. Like that if anything shows you like those are moments that you need to build to, that have to be earned, and when they're earned, they climax like that. Like, I mean, I saw crowds of like 100 people just screaming their brains off, like, and just like popping champagne and like drink being thrown in the air. It was amazing. I had never seen anything like it before. When that tournament reached its conclusion, it was incredible.
Right, yeah. I think the only thing I wish was different about, for instance, Z, is only things they changed in the abridged. And I love that was part of. I think those are usually like my favorite videos when you would cover the abridged series. I earlier today I saw, what was it, the top 10 episodes of Dragon Ball abridged, and man, I've always, like, Vegeta's always been one of my favorite characters. In terms of preference, he's top 5. Abridged Vegeta is number 1. Like, abridged Vegeta and abridged Guru.
Yeah.
Oh man, abridged Guru. No. Oh, it kills me every time. But
that's opportunities to do that with him, alright? He has so many.
Dude, I gotta watch that, man. I gotta watch DBZ abridged. That's something.
Oh, you haven't seen?
Nah, I haven't seen it.
Oh,
it's hard to get through the first season, but like it gets.
It's timeless.
Once you reach episode
so
10 or 11, what was it when Vegeta and Goku duel it out?
It is a timeless master.
Yeah, I gotta peep, man. I peeped some of the like Yu-Gi-Oh. I peeped some of the Yu-Gi-Oh abridged, and I thought that was hilarious, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm assuming that
if you like that, you'll definitely like this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm assuming if I like that, then I'd probably love this. But so yeah, I gotta peep it out, man. I gotta peep it out. So we talked about Thriller Bark a little bit. I want to know though, Mark, like, what's so far from the beginning all the way until into Thriller Bark where you're at, what do you think has been your favorite moment so far? And if you can't pick one in particular, like, you could give me a few.
Oh, that's so hard. Well, let me think. That is so hard.
Oh, I know.
Do you know what? I think everything in One Piece sort of builds and all that kind of stuff, and I think it has so many great moments, and it keeps building in intensity and anticipation and all the rest of it. Like, I loved Enies Lobby, but I wouldn't say Enies Lobby is my favorite. I wouldn't even say Water 7's my favorite. I really like Skypia, but that's not my favorite either. I really like Skypia.
Skypia is my favorite, actually.
I actually think there were a collection of moments that were kind of back to back during a certain section of the Alabasta arc.
Okay.
That I thought were just chef's kiss. It was okay. So it's the moment. So like this, it's the gang. The Straw Hats have just been captured by Croc, and they're in this little cage thing and all that kind of stuff. And I thought that was really fun. But when Sanji chimes in on the Snailophone and like he's saying Mr. Prince, I'm like, oh my god, that is such a good name. That is such a good idea, and this is such an interesting thing to do with the story. I actually just like, I had to get up, look outside. I'm like, I'm so happy I'm reading this. This is the best thing ever. And also immediately after that, I really liked Luffy's initial fight with Croc. I thought that was brilliant. And after that, once again, I love Luffy coming. I love all the gang's plan going into Alabasta, utilizing every character in a really, really, really good way. And I really liked then Luffy's big save to Vivi when he uses the Yuba water to protect her and save her and all the rest of it. Like, I think for me, that sequence, that stretch of the Alabasta arc, which I've just outlined there, probably highlights exactly why I love One Piece.
Awesome, man. Those are great moments. Alabasta like had a lot of moments I loved. I loved like all of the fights in Alabasta pretty much. Like, oh man, the fight that got me into like got me really hooked, like, cause I really after like Barati, I was like, all right, I really do love this. But like the moment I think I was hooked was the Daz Bones and Zoro fight. I was like, that fight, and a lot of it is because it was just a good fight, and I'm a meathead at heart sometimes. But the entire like way that fight went out, and how Zoro like was remembering, you know, like the breath of all things and stuff like that, and having to, you know, cut steel and stuff like that. Like, I really enjoyed that. But like altogether, Alabasta as a culmination, I tell people this all the time, is the arc that made me like really like, okay, this is something I'm about to really binge and go crazy with. And
yeah, no, Alabasta definitely was like, I mean, I really liked, like, the first video I made, I pretty much steamrolled from Renee's, Romance Dawn, all the way up to the end of the Barty arc. And then I watched Arlong Park, and then I read Arlong Park. And then after that, then was the Alabasta. Or no, it was Little Garden and all the rest of it. And then I did Alabasta. But by the time I reached Alabasta, Arlong Park had been my favorite, but Alabasta really highlighted. It was just next. It was just, I was just so impressed at the attention to detail that was put into the story. Like, again, if you go back and look at that particular video of me covering it, I have only one small gripe about the entire story, and that's it. Everything else was pretty much just on the money for me.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I man, pre-time skip One Piece is, and I'm about to go back and do my reread finally, and I'm really excited because there's a lot in pre-time skip that I've, you know, forgotten about, because it's been because, okay, my story with One Piece is a little different than others. I read up until the end of Arlong Park a very long time ago, and then I picked it back up right after that and finished it. So there's like, I know the basic, the gist of everything that happened Arlong and back, but there's just so much that I've forgotten because it had been years. So like, I'm finally getting to go back and do my reread, and I'm really excited for pre-time skip, because I pre-time skip is just,
so what I think is actually really interesting about One Piece, and I've gotten this question a lot, and I'd love to know what you guys' opinion is on this. But a question that I've gotten a lot ever since I've gotten into One Piece has been, has One Piece really made you change your perspective on Dragon Ball and like where it ranks in your head and stuff? And in my head, my response to this is always the same. And I wonder, before I say what it is, I want to know what you guys think my response is.
That's a tough one.
That's tough to say, because I don't want to
think I know you well enough.
Yeah, I don't want to self-project.
Yeah.
Well, like, well, then maybe phrase it in such a way that, like, I'll ask you guys a question. Did One Piece change your perspective on your, like, a favorite anime that you might have had, or if it is in fact Dragon Ball? Did it, like, had you seen Dragon Ball, and after watching One Piece, did it change your perspective on Dragon Ball?
So I've been with One Piece since I was about 6 years old. It's my first anime or manga, so it's.
Oh wow,
it was like your,
for me, like my favorite anime, and still my favorite anime, is Yu Yu Hakusho. That's my favorite anime. It's always been.
I'm gonna get into that next.
But for me, it didn't. I'll say this. It didn't change my perspective on Yu Yu Hakusho. I still love Yu Yu Hakusho the same way. It just opened my eyes to something new, and I think a lot of that is because of, one, the longevity of One Piece. It's the very first anime or manga that I've ever caught up to that was like, has been ongoing for as long as it has. So there's that. What comes with that is there's a lot of highs, but with something so long, there's also, of course, like we said earlier, there's going to be lows. and I'm not used to that. Yu Yu Hakusho for me being like, it's not a very super short series, but there's only 112 episodes, so compared to One Piece, it's like a toddler, like in the sense of, you know, how long it is. And like what I've noticed with like shorter series, things like you know, Hunter x Hunter, things like you know, even we can go even shorter than that, these newer gen animes that are like, you know, 12, 24 episode seasons. Like for me, the big thing I've noticed is that when it's in a like more compact, it's easier for them to have, it seems like there's more highs because there's just less that you're intaking. Whereas with One Piece, it's the greatness throughout, but it's so spread out that there are lows, and it's something I had to get used to. I wasn't used to. I was not used to having highs, low, high, low.
Did you, out of curiosity, did you watch or did you read the manga first?
I watched everything up until the end of Alabasta, and then I read from the end of Alabasta all the way through. And then what I did was, if I ever saw something cool in the manga, I would just go back and watch it because I was curious how it was animated. And then for certain arcs, I just watched, like just from recommendations from friends. Like people told me, yo bro, make sure you watch Enies Lobby, make sure you watch Marineford. I'm like, all right, cool. And then like, make sure you watch certain parts of this arc. Like, so like my friends in the community were kind of giving me recommendations on what to watch, but for the most part, I think in my opinion, the manga is superior. Like from what I've seen, I can't compare it to the entire anime because I haven't watched it all, or not even a majority of it. I've just watched certain things, but like for me, in a lot of ways, the manga it's for really just the story. And it's just been superior. But again, it's just something I had to get used to because One Piece is more of like since it's so long, it's more of like a roller coaster in a sense. Whereas if I'm watching something like Hunter x Hunter or like Yu Yu Hakusho that's like more compact, it's like more of like this. It's like more of a high ink. Like it starts off low, but it's just like high, and then like plateaus. If that makes sense. Okay. And One Piece for me is more like I said, high, low, like that. That's kind of how it is for me, and that's something that in that sense is something I had to get used to.
How about everyone else?
One Piece in terms of what it did for me is, I don't know, as I got older, because it's been a while since I've seen all of Dragon Ball Z, rewatched it. Like I was big on it till I was like 13, 14, so it's been about like 4 years. And there are many things that when you're young and a kid go over your head, especially with character writing. You don't care about character writing when you're 12, 13. You just care about the fact that Goku just turned a mountain into nothing. But when I got into One Piece, and I haven't fully caught up, but as far as I've gotten into One Piece, there are certain things about One Piece that made me appreciate it as an overall story. The detail it's able to have, the planning ahead, something that, Mark, as you continue One Piece, that you'll just notice more and more and more. And even it's apparent now, but it just becomes so apparent once you reach like Dressrosa, is how much planning there is into characters. Like it's almost as if no character really gets left behind in a certain sense. Yeah. More so what One Piece did for me is, instead of changing my perspective on Dragon Ball, which has always kind of been the same, it's like a childhood icon, it's one of my favorites, I've always kind of put Dragon Ball in that icon status. So I always judge it differently. Biased, but differently. One Piece, what it did do is change my perspective on something like Naruto. Because Naruto, I think, is a lot more compatible and comparable to something like One Piece because of that roller coaster formation it has that Sensei was talking about. So first part of Naruto that's peak Naruto, other than the Pain Assault arc, which is in Shippuden. Shippuden is where you get those inconsistencies of really high highs and really low lows, considering it's much longer. And so I think when reading One Piece, what it really opened my eyes towards is the ability for a story to do something different and still be great. So for instance, when I look at a series like One Piece, and then I'll take a story that's vastly different from One Piece in almost every single sense, Oyasumi Punpun. As an overall manga, I have Oyasumi Punpun at my number 3, almost at my number 2. One Piece goes anywhere from just outside of my top 5 to bottom of my top 10. And One Piece does world building. I think most people agree on this. One Piece does world building almost better than anybody else. But in comparison to other counterparts, it might do things such as character depth, character narrative, and development a little less compared to certain other series that's like their thing. But it can also do things better than a series like Naruto when it comes to actually sticking with its themes at times. Again, the world building, Luffy is a protagonist, and the tricky aspect for me always about One Piece, when comparing it to a series like Dragon Ball Z, like Naruto, is One Piece hasn't ended. And that's what makes it very difficult for me and hard at times to compare it to some of its other shonen counterparts that have either suffered or benefited from an ending. Again, Naruto being the main one that got kind of condemned by its ending because there's a lot of violations of themes and what makes the character important. So One Piece doesn't suffer that. Also, Demon Slayer had a very ending. But if One Piece doesn't suffer that, it's one of those things that after looking at it, it gave me such an appreciation for the shonen demographic, and how a story like One Piece is able to do things that I think get overlooked a little too often. Because I hear it a lot from people who are either getting into the series or just usually people who haven't read it. They have this idea and concept of what One Piece is, that isn't right. Like, for instance, Luffy just being a completely generic flat protagonist who's just a complete dumbass. Although I do think there's some truth in that, not entirely. But then there's
He's
that
naive.
also...
He's not stupid.
Right, naive. Kind of like the thing with Goku. Very innocent, I guess, in certain moments.
Yeah, but he has like kind of I think Luffy has like an emotional maturity to him that's like really interesting.
He's a very good judge of character, Luffy.
Yeah, that one scrap he had with Usopp, what was it? That really opened my eyes to the type of character Luffy was.
I feel like he was kind of flawed in that whole situation. His approach.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but that flaw was it was
great for growth.
Like,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But then there's that other side to it, right? Where at times, and I'm guilty of this in my first One Piece video, where it's almost like a sin to criticize One Piece for certain things. Or wishing One Piece did certain things. For instance, like that thing with Sanji. I don't know, with my experience at least, when you compare it to certain mangas or stories that I would argue do certain aspects a little more intriguing and a little better to my taste. I'm like very seinen inclined, so that should kind of tell you why.
Yeah.
I see that. Yeah. you were holding that in. I could hear it in the but yeah, like with One Piece, it's an essential that I think everybody should read, especially if you are, big on animes and mangas, because it deserves its status. But I don't know. A lot of my criticisms on One Piece, I think, get validated in the ending.
The point that I just kind of wanted to make was that, like, whenever someone asked me that question, in my head I said, okay, this is kind of like this sort of a sort of compartmentalized question. So someone asked me that question, my immediate reaction is, that doesn't make sense. Which is better, because they are trying to do two vastly different things. But if I ignore that and just say, okay, which one works better, I will say that One Piece is written much better than Dragon Ball is, for my tastes. But Dragon Ball, I'm talking specifically about the mangas here now, on both counts. Dragon Ball has infinitely better paneling and artwork compared to One Piece.
Especially fight scenes. One Piece is not.
That's one thing I would say, is that, like, One Piece's fight scenes, they're good, but they're good because of, like, the characters and motivations behind it. It has nothing to do with the choreography. I think the choreography leaves a lot to be desired in a lot of things.
That's really crazy that you said that. We were just talking about that, and Fiji was there. We were talking. There was something we were talking about in the last podcast where I was asking, because I seen a tweet where someone was like, One Piece out of the big three has the best everything, and then that, like, clearly that's not true. That's cap.
Well, I mean, look, in his opinion, everything is true. disagree, like, but like it's just
sure, you can have that opinion, but like I feel like the vast majority would disagree. That's what I'm saying. And
At
so
least something another series does better. Yeah.
so like there, so we have the.
Has anyone here ever actually like read the Dragon Ball manga out of curiosity?
No,
Ball,
I watched the anime. I didn't read the manga.
I've read key fights. I've only read.
Well, like
I owned the Dragon Ball Z manga from the beginning of Dragon Ball Z to
perfect. So like
Android
yourself.
Saga.
Yeah. So like anyone that's like read
I have
any
one.
part of the Dragon Ball manga from like say if you pick up say like somewhere around Raditz or whatever, right? Or before or like up to the Namek, right? If you pick it up on any page, you just get sucked in because it's so easy to read. Like One Piece does get a little bogged down in like having like 20 panels sometimes on screen and stuff like, and that can be very difficult. Sorry, my philosophy is you should be, in theory, because it's a visual medium and you utilize panels, you should be communicating a lot of information via the panels, and you shouldn't need to lean very heavily on like expositional words. So like when you look at Dragon Ball, especially around the time period that I just noticed, you could pick up any page and at a glance you will understand what's going on and what's being said on the page, and that's what sucks you in. And every single page ends on a cliffhanger. I think from a structural standpoint, if any one of you guys or if anyone watching wants to get into manga creation or understand how it works, study Dragon Ball, because Akira Toriyama really got it. He totally understood. Like you could I think something that One Piece doesn't do enough is utilize the space more efficiently. I think it gets bogged down in like a lot of reaction shots and a lot of like he does this thing where Oda, he does like the same kind of face where someone will do something stupid and then another person is reacting to it with the big sharp tooth, big angry face kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he does that a lot. And it's fine and it's good, but there are other ways of exploring that. Like I'll always point to like this is something that I always point to whenever I'm having this conversation is Goku versus Nappa. Every single panel looks interesting because it's not a typical pose. Like he has Goku dodge Nappa, but he doesn't just dodge him. He dodges him such that he's standing on his head and it's an upward shot. That's a really hard thing to draw, but he chose to do that because it was the most visually interesting. And like in that one shot, without any words, it communicates that Goku is better. It communicates that Goku is more confident than him, and it communicates that Nappa doesn't have a clue what's going on and is really angry. It does all of that without saying a word, and that's the skill of manga creation. Whereas I think if you're doing a lot of telling, and like it does, like One Piece, I think works really, really, really good in terms of a novel sense. Like if you were reading a novel, it works really well. I don't think it utilizes visuals as much as I would like.
I agree.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
You just brought it up, and I really like that because I have the deluxe volume right here, the 3-in-1. This is one of the only ones that I have left actually, because the other ones I didn't treat them well when I was younger. But this is the one where Trunks first appears, and I've never been the biggest Trunks fan, believe it or not, but all my friends were. And I'm looking at the paneling as you're talking about it, and so here when you're first getting introduced to Trunks, the first shot is just his legs. The second panel is King Cole and Frieza standing there asking, "What do you want, Earthling?" Then you get a shot of his shoes, his jacket, his chest, and then you finally see the reveal of character. It's all build up to who the character is, and then we get the infamous moment where Trunks turns Frieza into mincemeat. But yeah, that's I really like that when Sensei brought that up, and he brought it up in the podcast I was in last time about One Piece being better than the big three and everything, because there's only so much. I don't want to say bias, but I mean
Berserk isn't better than the big three and everything.
No, not even
no
Berserk.
series is better than every
Berserk,
series.
Yeah.
exactly. Because for instance,
say.
Berserk, I hold it as the greatest manga of all time. But
Yeah,
Naruto
that's
has
why
better
you-
fights than Berserk. One Piece has better world building than Berserk, even though Berserk's world building is top tier. For
Yeah.
me, Berserk it does what Mark was just talking about, as a manga, a visual work of art necessarily, which is like half of it. Berserk, I mean, artwork wise is up there with very, very, very few. On top of it being entertaining, the dialogue being it's show don't tell.
Exactly.
and that works very
Exactly.
great toward the series. And it could be shown a little more with One Piece, but you know,
Yeah, I
There are
agree. I
definitely
agree.
times.
Yeah.
There are definitely times in One Piece where I think the first 150 or so chapters is at its best, because at that point, the story was much smaller. I feel like there is a point where we've reached with that, where Oda, he's going to struggle to finish this series in the way he intended to
wrap it
finish
all
it.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, there is so many open plot lines, there's so much to cover. So it's reached a point where it does feel like he crams a lot onto the pages, and it's felt like that since the pre-time skip at times, but it's understandable. But it definitely does affect the reading experience. Not greatly. It's not as if like there's actual
Like,
writing
I think
issues,
if you
but
get to like, I mean, like I totally agree with like that. Like it's gotten progressively a little more and more cramped. But
Yeah.
like I think that if you get to where I am now, like after finishing Thriller Bark, I'm not going to read 430 some odd chapters, and
Yeah.
sorry, 490 some odd chapters, and not just continue. I'm like I'm in this now for the long haul. Like you've got me. I'm not gonna like
yeah, of course.
like and like the thing is like it's not like I can understand that like some people that are hearing this it might sound that I'm like being unjustly critical towards One Piece. I think One Piece is the best manga story I've ever read in my entire life. I'm not talking about the story. I'm specifically talking about how the manga is structured in terms of its paneling.
Yeah, there's
you
so
know?
much that goes into a manga. There is so much, and the way a mangaka uses the medium is very important. It's
Yeah, and
more
like
than
no, and to your point, like 100%. Like so, like put it this way, I never noticed how good Dragon Ball was until I read something else.
yeah,
Because
Yeah,
you like if something does its job that well, you'll never notice.
that's an amazing point. That's a great point. Because for me, right now, so One Piece was my first ever series. I think I made that clear earlier, and that's why for a very long time it felt so untouchable for me, because no matter the amount of series I would read or watch, nothing would live up to that. And before I started checking out these other series, I never knew One Piece was that good.
Yeah.
But then now I've kind of branched out, and I've found kind of a different taste in manga, and that's why I wouldn't say One Piece has dropped in my favorites, but I've found a lot more criticisms because of the kind of I've gained a lot more experience with what I'm reading. So I've branched into a lot of seinen manga. I've started to read manga. Like I'm currently reading Vagabond. I finished Berserk a few months ago, and I've kind of found new tastes in manga, and that's why it kind of does affect my opinions on One Piece at times. But at the end of the day, when it comes to just shonen manga and what One Piece is trying to do, I definitely think it's one of the greatest manga of all time.
I know it's an absolute epic, and like that's one of the like it's an epic in the true sense of the word, in that it's this massive sprawling story that's so ambitious, and like I think like the idea that something like this is being created is exciting for me, and I'm very excited to see how he finishes it, because I really like the idea of it being a story that from its inception the ending was in mind. Like that's really cool to me. Like as a person who's massively into narrative theory and structure, and like I don't notice everything because I'm human and things slip by, but
Of course.
I like in my videos I think I try to point out things where I'll see like, okay, so seeds are being planted here for later and all that kind of stuff, and I recognize that because I read, like I like reading books and how stories work, and I really appreciate that One Piece gives you like rewards you for paying attention. You know, like it's really good in that regard.
That's why I loved your Jaya review in particular. That's probably my favorite one so far, because that's an arc that plants a lot of seeds. That's an arc that only gets better.
And it's obvious. It obviously plants a lot of seeds. You know, like especially with the dial technology and all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, like this is
it does so much in that arc. That's why that's a top 5 arc in the entire series for me, which is kind of
see, like when I go into each individual arc that I like read through and stuff, I'm doing it alone, obviously, but I have my editor and a friend of mine that like talks to me as I go through it, and through them I learned that Jaya and Skya and Skypia were like arcs that were like some people didn't like, and so I went into the arc like anticipating like maybe this isn't going to be as good as I thought it was going to be, and I loved it. My favorite One Piece panel actually is in Jaya, where it's just like a really big I think is a full page spread, or is it a half page spread of just Luffy from afar walking down a dockyard surrounded by all this foliage. And I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful, and it's just, I don't know, I really vibed with Jaya, and I really liked the lore in Skype. I just found it very fun, and the sense of adventure was very much there. And I thought the pacing was really good. I would
Definitely
assume
was.
that I haven't, because I haven't seen the anime. I was told that the anime, this is where like filler starts becoming much more prevalent, and so maybe that's what maybe.
So, are you fine with me telling you the issue with the One Piece anime? It won't be a spoiler. I'll just tell you why the One Piece anime like is not as successful as others.
Yeah, sure,
Uh,
go for it. If it's not a spoiler, then yeah.
Nah, it's not a spoiler at all. So the way One Piece handles filler is completely different to another series like Naruto, for example. One
Okay.
Piece, because of contracts with Toei Animation and Fuji TV, it isn't really allowed to include filler episodes where it's a completely filler story. And what it does is it messes the actual episode by having mixed filler with the manga canon.
And that
what
could
it does
ruin
is-
the actual and that could ruin like the
Exactly.
actual narrative through line. So like something subtle
Exactly.
could happen, but it could be ruined because like in theory they could make Sanji more perverted and ruin his character way before
yeah.
the Absalom thing.
Yeah, and it's not just that. It's like there are certain scenes where they're completely ruined because the camera is panning for like 2 minutes. Let me just put it like this, right? Some episodes adapt 9 pages of the manga, and it's no like added content. There is like probably 2 minutes of added content in that episode, and it's just an episode with some long shots, and it's like the same OST playing. It's very, you can find it very boring. The way the episodes are paced aren't good. I have to attest to that. Right now, the current arc in the anime, phenomenal job. They've been doing a great job because I won't say why, but they've been doing a great job for this arc. They've been
Pretty
putting
cool.
a lot of work
Well,
into this.
that's good to hear. I'm really excited to see what's to come for the series. To be perfectly honest, like I don't like.
Oh man,
Oh,
I'm
you got-
excited. I'm excited
Yeah,
for
I'm
you.
excited for
I'm
you.
itching
Yeah,
for
man.
you to reach my favorite character, because I have a feeling he might be your favorite as well once you reach him. I won't say who it is. Sensei and Aofiji know,
Yeah.
but he's so
I'm
good.
editing a video right now, and he's my number 5. I'm editing this video right now. Top 10
He's only
favorites.
5? Oh,
Yeah,
There
I
are a
mean,
lot of
I've been
One
with
Piece
this series for like 12, 13 years, maybe even longer
Right,
than that.
right.
So there's like a bias with certain characters. that
Okay,
I
no,
grew up
okay, I get
I,
you.
I think
Biased
the
ass.
thing is, like with me, I think it's going to be very difficult for me to find a fit. I think it'll be very difficult for someone like say Frankie to be my favorite character just because he's so new, and I've been with like Zoro, Luffy, and Nami for so long. You know what I mean?
I thought the same thing about Zoro, but then he came in and just blew the gates open.
Okay, it's fair. Like, I mean, I'm
glad
totally,
you're a
I'm,
Zoro
I'm-
fan, bro.
I'm totally open to it. Like, I mean, like, fucking, like, I was around Usopp, Sanji. I was around Usopp, Zoro, and Nami and Luffy for so long, and then Sanji came along, and he became my favorite. So, it's totally something that can happen. Absolutely. So, I'm very interested to see what the story has to offer. I have no idea. I think in terms of the story so far, I have just. Like I think they just reached the red line again, and they're about to, and they started talking to a mermaid. That's where I'm at right now.
Got you. Kneecaps, what up, baby?
How you been, Doug?
How you doing, man? How you doing? It's time. It is time. Gotta do this. I've been wanting to have an in-depth conversation with you. So,
Alright.
so I'm gonna make this pretty easy for you. You know what I'm saying? And instead of giving you an overwhelming question that requires, a lot of thought, I'm just gonna shoot some questions at you.
That's fine.
All right, let's go. Let's get it. Who is your favorite MC?
Favorite MC? I have 2. I think I have Yo Asakura. I think that's his last name, right? From Shaman King, and then I forgot what this one guy's name was. I forgot his name, but I remember the anime.
What anime was it?
It's what's it called? Tagami Bachi, right?
I've never seen that.
It's lag. It's lag seeing from Tagami Bachi.
Gotcha.
Either Asakura or lag seeing from. It's called Letter B.
I'm not familiar with the lag scene guy. So like, why is he like your favorite? Like, what about him?
I think this was like it was like around the time that I was getting into anime that like I saw Letter B. Like I think it was like around middle school when my friend like showed me his Shonen Jump book, which I started getting into Naruto, right? Which Naruto's still one of my favorites, but I think Tagami Bachi was also within that Shonen Jump issue, and it also spiraled me forward into the anime world. That's what I liked about it. I just like Shaman King just because I think like the what's it called? The main character, he's pretty chill within like a really like hectic world, I think.
Yeah.
And the responsibilities that he has. So that's what I like.
Are you excited for the reboot?
I am actually, yes. I saw people talking about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of my like closest friends is like a diehard like Shaman King fan. He lost it when he found out.
I couldn't even believe it because like the what's it called?
It's so old.
Yeah, the guy that made it said that he wouldn't make like a reboot or like an adaptation unless like the original cast, like the original like voice actor cast was got to be in it as well. So I think hopefully they solved something, they figured it out or something like that and got him back with his crew. But
yeah, that should be dope. I've never actually read or seen Shaman King, so I'm excited. Apparently it's like a complete reboot, right? So it's like from the beginning. It's not like
from the very beginning. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a cool series, man. It was very cool.
I'm gonna peep it out for sure. All right, so Kneecaps, let's talk about some meathead stuff for a second, man. Let's talk about some fights. Like, what are your like when you think of anime fights, manga fights? Like, what are your go-tos? And other guys can chime in too. But like, what are some favorite fights?
My favorite fights, I have two favorite fights. I liked the one with Luffy versus what's his name? That guy, that tiger guy, Lucci. Yeah, and then also the fight between it was like this was Bleach, right? It was like I forgot what the guy's name is, but he was facing Neliel, or I think that's what her name is, right? The goat lady or something like that. She's like I don't know. I saw that fight. I thought it was the coolest thing ever, right? Because like
Bleach fights, dude, people be like, some people sleep on Bleach fights, but like because I think they're always like when we think of like fight choreography and fights, like people in the big three, people think of Naruto first. So like Bleach kind of gets overshadowed, but Bleach has really good fights.
Yeah,
like really good fights I enjoy a lot, like especially like Hueco Mundo. Like Hueco Mundo is like great. I love Hueco Mundo. Like I love Ichigo had a lot of fights on Hueco Mundo I love, like Ukiyor, Grimmjow, then like Kenpachi had a really good fight. Like it's awesome. And then like it leads into the whole Aizen thing where you know what Aizen did. Aizen claps everybody, but I mean whatever. But yeah, I really do like Bleach fights, man. I think Bleach fights, there's a lot of good fights that they have. Even in some of the manga that I've seen of Bleach, like some of the fights I liked in the manga too. Because I haven't read the manga for the entirety of Bleach. I just read the last arc. But there were fights in that last arc that I like too, that I'm excited to see animated. Everyone knows Bleach is coming back next year, so that's awesome. What about some of you other guys? What are your like favorite fights?
I have like 5 off the top of my head because I answered this question recently. My number one is I won't say the name because it might be a spoiler for Masked if he ever gets there. It's at the end of Gintama, so that's the climax.
I
one of the
could
final
care
fights
less. I honestly, bro, I'm drudging through this series. The majority of the series I cover, like actually, I will say it's my fault for cutting you off here, but the majority of the series that I do get recommended are ones that are in my top 20, end up in my top 10. But there's some, man, where I'm doing it, out of, because I think I can't just judge a series and instantly dismiss it. I can say I dropped it, but since I picked up anyways, just continue.
I would say this, right? If the mini if Benny Sakura, which you're about to watch, episode 58 to 61,
It's
if that
only 3
isn't
episodes.
Yeah, it's 3 episodes.
Okay.
If that isn't, I'm saying though, the series does like take a more serious turn after this mini arc. But if that isn't at least like I would say like a 7 or 8 out of 10 arc for you, I'd say drop it, because that's the weakest serious arc in the series, right? The weakest serious arc in the series, but it's still really good to me. And that's just the taste of what's to come. because that sets up the overarching narrative with Gintoki and his backstory and all of that. And it takes really long because it's a comedy gag series, so that's what it focuses on. But yeah, Gintama fight is my number one. That's it would take me. I don't want to spoil what that is. Second favorite fight again. So we got Mark here, who I don't want to spoil, but I'll just say Chimera Ant arc. That's my second favorite fight in manga.
Yes.
Third, okay, this is one that I can say. Naruto vs Sasuke Part 1. That's my third
Ooh.
favorite fight.
That's a good pick.
That's a good
That-
pick.
In Naruto,
That to
yeah.
me is like
They was boxing,
Yeah.
baby.
that to me is like that is how you build up a fight. and a
On
climax.
God, bro.
When he hit
That was
Sasuke with
like
them
the-
12 punches in the air, it was like, wah,
Bro.
wah, wah, wah.
When the fact that Sasuke won that is like the most beautiful thing about Part 1. Like, it's the best way Part 1 could have ended.
Bro,
Right.
that crack in
Just
the
to see
headband,
what comes
that
up.
crack in the headband and how relevant it becomes later on.
Bro.
Oh my God.
No, the entire build up, like watching that as a kid, I was almost certain Naruto was winning that. Almost certain.
Yeah, for sure, because he's fucking tail beast. Like, you're like, oh,
Like-
because every other time we see Naruto, it's like, once the tail beast comes out, it's like Naruto pulls the win
Yeah.
somehow. So you're thinking
Yeah.
it's going to happen again, and then it doesn't happen. You're like, whoa.
Hello?
Hello?
I was about to say, did he cut out
What just
for
happened?
y'all
Did we
also? I thought
We got
I,
DDoSed or something, bro. I was like, what the?
What just happened?
Fiji, you still there?
Is Fiji,
I don't know.
did Fiji get disconnected?
Yo, yeah, nah, my mic just came out. Sorry about
Oh, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I thought like, cause it's like raining outside. I'm like, did my internet go out? Like,
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I thought my connection was lost. I was like,
My mic-
not
thank
now.
God for editing. Thank
God
God.
damn.
Yeah.
My mic just came out. Sorry about that.
Oh no, you're
Yeah.
good, man.
Another big fight, Master like this Guts versus Zod. That's like one of my favorite.
I have
mangas.
another Berserk
Ooh.
one, but that yes, thank you.
Bro,
Wait,
the
which one? The
choreography
first
in
one
that
or
fight.
the
Nah,
first
nah,
one
the
or
Hill of Swords. Hill of Swords.
Oh, the Hill of Swords. Oh,
Hill
that's
of
such
Swords.
a good. Yeah,
Bro,
alright, sorry.
everyone on my flipping YouTube right now is live reacting to the chapter. I can't wait to get. I can't wait to read this. Chapter dropped. I'm psyched for this. But
Wait,
yeah.
the chapter dropped.
Oh yeah, yeah. Everyone's live
360.
reacting.
Oh, me and Ryan are collabing to talk about it.
Love to see
Okay,
it.
so that's
I
good.
look
I told him we'll
forward to
do it after the podcast. It doesn't matter. I'll be fine. All right.
it. So yeah, yeah, that's enough. I'm giving you guys enough. I would say this: Mobu versus Kanmei Coalition, because you've read Coalition. That's another one.
Yeah, that's solid.
That's a crazy fight.
Mark, what's up, man? I know you got some fights,
Uh,
baby. DBZ, baby. What's going
okay.
on? Is Mark
All
here?
right,
Where's Mark?
Oh, hi, what's good?
No, I was saying, I was asking, I was like, Mark, what's up? What you got some fights for us?
Okay, so I kind of categorize them. So, like, if you're talking about group versus single fight. So, in terms of a single fight, my favorite fight has been the same for a very long time. And the more I learn about writing and all the rest of it, the more I actually grow to appreciate it. I think like one of the reasons why I like Dragon Ball so much is because it's so simple. But whenever they try to get a little bit more nuanced and complex, it kind of like really makes it stand out all the more. So I really like. I feel like the most iconic fight from Dragon Ball was Goku versus Frieza, and I think it's that for a reason. And I think it's built up really well in that Goku is away and injured, and he's healing. And during that time, every single one of the main characters all gets systematically destroyed through this massive struggle against Frieza. And then when yeah, exactly. And when Goku finally shows up, it's this massive triumphant moment where everything is going to be okay. He's here now. And as the initial sections of the fight progress, Goku's going toe to toe with Frieza, and it's all working and all the rest of it. But then it's revealed that Frieza is much more of a monster than Goku ever prepared for. And there are so many small moments throughout that fight that are just obviously I love the way it's paneled. It's the most beautiful fight there's ever been. I genuinely believe that it's such a beautiful fight to look at from
man,
start
I have
to
to
finish.
go look at it in the manga. I've never looked at
Yeah,
it actually.
no, it's amazing the way it's structured. Like there are some panels that almost look like animation panels, like going one like it's so good. And on top of that, then as well, it has like obviously the iconic moment of the Super Saiyan. But if you were even to ignore that, like it has my favorite moment in the series, which is Goku using the Kaioken times 20, which is just like it's like a move that he's using like just for other people. It's like, you know, he needs to do this so that he can stop this massive tyrant. And it's a really cool moment, and I really like it. Frieza versus Goku is my favorite singles fight. If I wanted to go for a group fight, I absolutely was floored and so utterly, dumbfoundingly impressed by the second half of season 3 in Attack on Titan. I thought
Oh, wow.
I thought the battle for the battle to reclaim Shingashina was incredible. Like, as in, like, from
Oh
every
my.
single standpoint, the way they split it down the middle from one side of the wall to the other, like Levi and Erwin's squad versus going against the Ape Titan,
Beast
and
Titan, and then they had the Colossal going inside.
yeah, and like that is probably the most well-written fight I've ever seen, struggle like war I've ever seen, whether it be manga or otherwise. It's incredible what's his name? What's the guy who wrote it? Fuck.
Isayama?
Isayama, yeah. What Hajime Isayama did was just incredible.
It was genuinely. So have you read past that? Or you anime only for
No, so I actually bought after I finished watching Attack on Titan season 3, I just decided to buy all of the manga up to date, and I didn't read it. I just wanted to give him money because it's like, I've never, like, Attack on Titan, I genuinely think is it's like my kryptonite. It is exactly what I want in a series, in that it's like, it's just raw plot and everything. Everything comes from like reveals and twists, and if you're paying attention, then these twists will be even more impressive. And like looking back on it, like, and seeing like the very first episode, like they're
hints in place.
Exactly. And like, I just, but like to answer the question, Frieza versus Goku and the battle to reclaim Shingashina, it's just, they're both so impressive, but just in vastly different ways.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. Like, I expected the Frieza Goku. Like, I expected that. I did not expect the Attack on Titan pick, but that's a really good pick.
Yeah. Like, speaking about what you mentioned with like Isayama, I think there's this quote by George R. R. Martin, and he basically says there's two kinds of writers, architects and gardeners. And the architects, they do the blueprints and stuff, and they make sure everything is prepared before they start to work on the building. Whereas a gardener just digs a hole, plants a seed, and see what comes up. And obviously there are differences. There's some characters who are some authors who are a bit of both, but Isayama fits under architect because he had
100%.
everything mapped out. You can tell reading the very first chapters that he knew exactly what he was doing. Reading like the current chapters in them, it's insane. It's ridiculous. I have never seen a craft.
Like, again, like, I don't want any spoilers, obviously, but
Of course not.
People have been telling me that like season 4 is like it's peak Attack on Titan. So like, I'm
it blows season 3 out of water for me.
That makes me, on such a fundamental level, so like, I am happy on a cellular level hearing stuff like that, because it just tells me like, okay, thank God I'm not insane.
Just pray that Mappa gives it the production it deserves, because it is blowing season 3 out of water if it had the same production, at least in my opinion.
Is there any word actually on like whenever I look up stuff regarding it, it's still saying fall 2020, but like COVID must have impacted it largely, so I don't know.
It must have, but there hasn't been a confirmed one, at least not with the sneak peek that came out.
They
recently.
could just randomly be like, all right, here, but they also could just be next year.
I mean, so I don't suggest this. Don't do this. But if you go to the trailer for the season, and
I haven't seen it.
Okay, yeah. If you pause for certain frames, you'll see stuff animated from like three or four chapters ago, which is pretty insane. Like they're going in deep. So that could mean it could be coming out sooner than we expect.
Well, if they're covering that much material, then that means that, like, I mean, like, I would have, like, so, like, this is what I thought was going to happen. What I thought was going to happen is that it was going to get season 3 treatment, wherein they do like 12 episodes for the first. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think that should happen, but I don't know if it will, just because that happened in the trailer, right? So I'm not sure how they're trying to tackle this. It would be much better for them to split it into 2 cores, but I'm not sure. I don't know where they're going.
I mean, like, again, like, I'll reserve judgment until I see it. Like, but Attack on Titan is like such a fun watching experience. If you've like I've watched the series probably 5 times now. Like, I love. Like, it's one of those series where like I'll just like see someone that I think might be vaguely interested in it, and I'm like, okay, dude, you got to see Attack on Titan, because like, and that's more of a thing for me, because I just really want to see their reaction to it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. Attack on Titan was one of those things for me that was like, I was
It changed the world.
Yo,
Anime
I was
world.
like, wait, what? I remember just how crazy the internet was when season 1 came out. Like, it was insane, and for good reason. Like, I was completely shocked. I'm not gonna lie, like how like the first episode went, not what I expected. And I guess that's because I had no idea about Attack on Titan. I didn't know about the manga or anything. I was just like, oh, this is a new series people are talking about. And then I start watching it, not knowing what's gonna happen. And then when it happened, it happened, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, like, I 100%. Like, it's like I think I remember watching it because I think at the when I started watching it, I think there had been 6 episodes released on Crunchyroll, and it was still being released season 1. And I think it was when I got to the end of episode 5, and you all know what I'm talking about, the one where first of all, has everyone in this chat seen Attack on Titan?
I read
yeah,
it through
yeah.
the manga.
So yeah.
I've read it like 3 times.
Kneecaps, have you seen Attack on Titan?
You said, have I watched it?
Yeah.
Or like anything, are you familiar with the story? Like,
Or I've been recommended it like a bunch of times. Like, you know,
But you haven't seen it yet?
seen it and
oh well, in that case, like, okay, so I'll just phrase it like this. Like, there's a particular thing that happens at the end of episode 5 where there's a Titan and someone gets eaten, and like I just okay, this is special. That's a really cool idea. And even as the story progresses and there are explanations for everything, it's just like
that happened.
Yeah, it was just like, that's a really
That
great.
doesn't happen.
I have friends.
That never happens.
I've had friends that dropped the series after that. Because
Lord.
Yeah, I had series because they were that dense that they didn't keep watching to see what happened.
They were that dead.
Yeah.
I don't know how someone could stop watching after that happens, though.
That would make me want to
They
continue.
literally were like, yeah, man, I dropped it because I was like, what? Like, I was like, what do you mean, what? Like, did you keep watching it? Like, nah, man, just stop watching it. Like, keep watching it. Like, go back and watch it. Like, what are you talking about? I was like, well, I don't know, man. I just didn't see the point. Like.
I know we're past this subject, but I don't know if I don't know. It was stuck on my head, and I had the top 5 like ready, loaded like.
All right, let me see it. Let me get that.
All right, let me get my top 5 fights real quick. Not in any particular order, but some of these are ties, so I might have more than just 5. Whatever. So my favorite fights in like you'll see, I have them by series. So Naruto, Rock Lee versus Gaara, and Kakashi versus Obito for me are I love them. In Dragon Ball, of course, Goku versus Frieza, Piccolo versus 17.
Ooh, baby.
Piccolo versus 17 went stupid.
Super dumb hard.
What else? I'm trying to think. What was the third one? Of course, Vegeta versus Goku.
Yeah, that's
in
mine.
the first saga.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah, that one.
It's actually really underrated.
That's mine.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the first one though, not Margin.
Okay. And then these two aren't really fights. They're more like non-consensual rape. And it's Madara versus the 4th Division and Vegeta versus Android. Which Android is it? Is
Android 19. It's
19.
Incredibly cathartic. Yeah,
that one. Yeah, that one's not even a fight. That's just
Bro.
my favorite Super Saiyan transformation. My favorite Vegeta moment. Like,
bro, moments like that was hilarious, bro. When like just everyone gets bodied, bro. Because I was talking about like I was talking about the Aizen thing earlier. That's like really comparable to like the Madara moment. Like, it's just like, oh my god, like why, like.
Right. And then Guts versus Rosine. For me, that fight is just so dynamic, so clean, works in so many ways. And Guts just solidifies himself even more so as an absolute weapon. And then you have other things like Hisoka versus Chrollo and Hunter x Hunter. I'm trying to think if there's any other series. I mean, yeah, that's oof.
So you prefer that to Netero Mero?
Oh no, that one's you already mentioned it. So
okay.
That's what I think you were referencing, but yeah, obviously, that fight's up there as well. And I think that would be. I think that's it. Yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Gas. Yo, Kneecaps, what's the worst anime you ever seen? Like ever?
The worst anime I've ever seen? I forget, but there was like this. I forgot what it was, bro. But I don't remember the name to it. But I forgot how it went. Where like it was like this one girl, right? It wasn't like the anime's not about this girl, but it was like this. What's it called? I I forget how it
Domestic
goes.
girlfriend.
Like
That one.
a general summary of it was just that it was just like super cliche. Like the villain, it was like one of those villains that are like, oh, I'll destroy the world so that there's no more pain in the world, something like that. Kind of go to for like, oh well, he's evil, but is he really evil? That type of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like what happened is that the way that one of the main characters die, it's so bad, bro. Like, oh my gosh, bro. Like they have like this girl like running through like some sort of like forest or something like that, right? And she's like yelling for another of the main character for no reason. She's just running through like this forest for like no reason, right? While like the main character is fighting one of like the bad guys, right?
Yeah.
She's running, right? Calling out his name, she's like something, right? And the bad guy's like, oh, wait a minute, that guy's calling this guy's name, and then he kills her, right? Kills her. And the thing is, you don't really care about this character because she's not very like rounded, she's a pretty flat character, doesn't really have a personality or anything like that. And it's just like, oh, this is gonna be this guy's reason to go after this villain. And it's like no one really cares, bro. The villain sucks, right? The person that died, no one cares about, right? And like it was just overall like a bad. I forget what anime it was. If I can remember.
Man, I really want to know now.
It was so bad. I'm like, bro, this is. I stopped watching it. I was like, bro, this anime is so bad. Oh Lord.
That's hilarious, man. That's hilarious. So like, what's your like most impactful like moment that you've seen in anime Kneecaps? Like your most good.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, bro. Like your most impactful. It doesn't have to be like an emotional moment or anything. It's just something that like you watch that you really just like kind of changed your perception on anime or manga.
I don't know. I don't really have anything that changed my perception of it because like when I first started watching anime, I just liked it in general.
Gotcha, yeah.
But one of like the coolest like things that I've seen in anime, again, like back to what you were talking about, like one of the best fights I've seen was like the Nell thing, right? Like I don't know, I just thought that was like one of the coolest things I've seen because like this entire time, I think it was like Ichigo or someone was like protecting like the Nell, like while she was in like child form, right?
Yeah.
And then she come whipping out with the the adult form, right?
No.
Oh, watch out. And then the breeze goes by and you see like she's like the third strongest or something like that, right? She's like the third or fourth strongest Espada or something like that.
Yeah, I think she's number 3.
Yeah. I thought she was like number 3. I'm like, oh shit, bro. I was like, oh my god, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know, bro.
Dude, the numbers on the Espada are so hilarious, bro. Cause you remember the big guy ends up being number 0.
Yeah. He's number 0, bro.
Yeah, that's just hilarious.
Bro, no. Even when he transforms, bro, he is not number 0.
You're not number 0, bro. And then you got Okiora that's like, oh, I've been suppressing my power this whole time.
Yeah. Like in terms of like raw strength, then yeah, but like the ability to actually like beat someone, like actually win a match against someone, no.
For sure. All right, one last question for you guys, and I'm gonna wrap it up because we're coming on the 3-hour mark.
Wow.
So okay, you guys, I've asked this question before. I think Fiji may have answered it, but I'm not 100% sure. But so you're on a secluded island, right? Now, on this island, you have all of the necessities that you need. You have water, food, everything, like, right? But the catch is you can only bring one episode of an anime and one chapter from a manga as entertainment. What do you bring with you?
Gintama episode 305, One Piece chapter 398.
God, you knew that one.
Yeah, you
quick.
answered that
did
question
answer this.
already.
You did
You're a
answer it.
cheater.
Pretty loaded, bro.
I'll give a little context so you know what the One Piece one is at least. The Gintama one is don't mind, but the One Piece one is Luffy declaring war on the entire world government, Robin's "I want to live" moment, and yeah, so that's the One Piece chapter, my favorite chapter in manga.
All right. Okay, mine is going to. Okay, I don't know if this one's cheating, but the chapter I want to bring on is whatever the newest chapter of Berserk is. I can't be on an island and not know how the story ends. That you got me messed up. And one episode from an anime. I think it's
Dark
got to be the
Knight,
episode
97?
where no, the episode where Pain gives the cycle of hatred speech.
Ooh.
Because that
That's
for
a good
me,
episode.
to, I don't know, that moment just it impacts me so much.
Uh,
Because I've always,
I remember
such a good
watching
speech.
your video. That's like the thing that got you into Naruto, right?
It was, yeah,
Yeah.
it was that speech because I had like with Dragon Ball Z, you know, most of the antagonists there aren't, I would argue Pain was the first morally gray antagonist I was really introduced to that really made you think about, you know, what your morals were and all that stuff. And it was he was just raw, so I'd have to take that episode along with me. I don't remember the exact episode, but yeah, that episode.
For sure. Yo, Kneecaps, what you got, bro?
It was one episode or one chapter, right?
Yeah.
All right, so the chapter I'd bring would probably be like the last chapter of like Letter B or Tagami Bachi. And the episode I would bring would probably be the one where I think like Usopp, he like, I don't think he realized it, but like he used like, I think like a form of like hockey, I think it's called, or something like that.
Use
Or like,
observation hockey.
yeah, I think that's what it was. Like when he threw it towards, I forgot what that girl's name is, Sugar or something like that. Whatever the hell her name is.
Yeah.
He like
Spoiler territory. Spoiler territory.
yeah.
Yeah.
He like when he slung it towards. I don't know. I thought that was a pretty cool episode. But yeah,
For sure. Mark, what you got, bro? What you bringing? You can only take one episode and one chapter with you.
Oh,
Oh, it's just killing you.
see, I was like, okay, I'm really trying to think. I know what episode I want. I thought episode 53 of Attack on Titan was perfect. I thought, ironically, it's called Perfect Game, but
Which episode? Which episode is that one?
It's the episode where they defeat the Colossal Titan, and it's also the episode where Erwin dies. It's
The greatest speech in anime.
yeah, it's that's I would argue that's a perfect episode.
I would agree.
There, and as for the chapter, that's really tough. That's exceptionally hard.
Take your time, man. I'm gonna edit this. To them, they're not gonna even know you're thinking that long.
But I'm gonna be. I think maybe the very first chapter of Dragon Ball, just because of what it represents for me.
Okay, yeah.
I think for like sentiment, like I can't think of these things. Like I could probably I was kind of deciding maybe that one chapter where Goku uses the Kaioken times 20 in the middle of the fight where he's like desperate and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of tension there. It's probably my favorite moment in the series. I really like that. I could have chosen the Super Saiyan moment. I could have chosen a bunch of different moments from that. I could have gone. I thought that I think the first chapter of One Piece is incredibly good at establishing a lot of things for Luffy. I thought the first chapter of I thought the chapter where Midoriya is given all one for all by All Might was great. I thought that was exceptionally well done. But in terms of just like, I think Dragon Ball has given me a lot in my career now, and I think the very first chapter of Dragon Ball, even though the first arc isn't anything exceptional, I just think there's something really pretty and simplistic and kind of nostalgic looking back at the very first chapter of Dragon Ball, knowing what's to come for this small character and what will eventually do for millions of people across the world and stuff. So I think that's probably my answer. Yeah.
Awesome. For me, I think the episode I'm bringing would have to be the episode where Yusuke sends the spear gun in the sky for Genkai. That I just remember that being like, that was like one of those moments. Like, there's been moments in anime and manga that I've like cried and stuff, like shed tears for, but like that moment was powerful for me. And chapter, it's tough. I would probably bring either the chapter with well, you don't really, I don't want to spoil, so can't explain it. But there's a Bon Clay moment, and I'm Fiji. You probably know what I'm asking. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That moment, or probably, and probably this, like, people in the comments are probably not going to understand this, but like the chapter from Jaya with Blackbeard's speech. And
Oh
then,
wow, beautiful. 233, I think it is.
and then there's also
I really like you. Holy shit, that's amazing. That you know the chapter number.
Oh, I've read the series like
he's
5
read it a
times.
billion times.
It's
Big feet. Some of my friends, bro, like Fiji, like Dritz, like certain people, like they're like wiki links for chapter numbers, like what happened when. Sometimes when I need stuff for videos, I'll just message them. Yo, Fiji, what chapter did this happen? Fiji's like, I think that was like after 245. I think it's like between 250, 255. And then I'll go and look, and shortly enough, that's where it's at. But yeah, that moment, and then also Nolan's flashback, like.
oh wow, best flashback in the series for me.
Mwah,
Well,
mwah.
I've got a question for you,
Yeah.
Mark.
He double kissed that.
It has to be done. It has to be done.
That's that.
Yo,
That's that thing, baby. What up, bro?
I want to ask Mark a
Hey.
question. What is your favorite One Piece flashback so far at the point you're at? Because that One Piece is famous for having phenomenal backstories. And
That's
flashbacks.
a good question.
I actually no, I think that's fairly easy for me. I did like Nolan's one, but I think the best flashback so far for me was I actually, for some reason, I found it. This is part of the reason why I really like Nika Robin. I actually really liked her flashback.
Oh, her flashback's
Yeah.
amazing.
I know. I really liked her flashback just because I found her to be the most relatable character. I think a lot of people were bullied and all that kind of stuff growing up, and the fact that her character is so ingrained with struggle and being told that you're not good enough and all the rest of it, like I think that's a very relatable thing. So, yeah, Nika Robin's thing was fantastic.
Great. And Fiji, I don't think I'm mistaken, but that's the very first time we get to see Akainu, correct?
Yes.
Oh, that's hype. Yeah, that whole flashback was wild, bro.
Oh,
And
I have no doubt that there's so there were things said in that chapter that were of grave importance. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
understand
like
But,
trust
like-
me, it's incredibly important. But it's like it's to the point where One Piece is so massive that there are
Yeah.
certain things that might have
Well,
been
yeah,
said that we
absolutely.
still don't know.
No, exactly. But like, I mean, like, I know. Like, the thing is, right. What's funny is that whenever I do a review, right, and I'm reviewing something, it's also a first impressions of. So, like, I'll give people my impressions of certain scenes, and I describe what's happening just so that I can set the scene and give people context for what I want to talk about next. But I like when it came time for me to talk about Nika Robin's flashback, I could only kind of muse on how it made me feel and what happened during it and what could come from it and stuff like. But people were saying, "Why didn't you talk about more like this kind of stuff?" I'm like, "Well, I didn't. I don't like." It's like the thing is right. It's like you, of course, people will of course.
hindsight
know.
is 2020, man.
Exactly, like,
Yeah.
but like, I mean, like, it's like you're not like I don't have enough information yet to derive any particular meaning from this particular
Yeah.
exchange. Like my editor, right? My editor, when I was talking about Reverse Mountain, he used the fucking Binks's brew or Binks's sake, sorry, from fucking Thriller Bark as music while I was talking about Laboon, and like that's a nice little kind of like musical Easter egg for people that are in the know. But like people were also really kind of like asking questions. Why aren't you kind of like looking and focusing more on this thing? It was like, well, like at the time, it's just a sad whale. Like
Yeah, exactly.
you know, like how was I? To
And
know,
I think
like,
that's so great. That's what, for me, that's what I love about One Piece is the callbacks to so much stuff. So like,
yeah, no, like-
but like people, again, like I said, you're from the outside looking in, they're from the inside looking out. So it's like they have all the information already. So they want you to make, but you can't expect like people to make these correlations when they don't have the other
but,
part
like,
of it.
the
Like,
thing is, right,
Trust me, you're doing a much better job than most. I'm watching your reviews. You're doing
yeah,
a
for
much,
sure.
much better
Oh,
than
for sure.
That's good. Well, good to know. I've been told by my friend that like some of my kind of like speculations are wildly wrong, and some of them
Oh,
are
yeah,
like
of course.
surprisingly close.
But,
So like,
but
I'm
the thing with the wildly wrong ones is that you're totally justified in thinking that because Oda makes it in a way that you
ambiguous.
would think
Yeah,
that. And that
exactly.
happens to us all the time, though. Like,
Yeah.
we
like
always
you thinking
speculate.
Whitebeard is a warlord. That one made me laugh, but I understand why you thought that. You know what I'm saying? I
But-
understood why you thought that. So
But like the thing is, like I think probably for me, right, and I'll close it on this, and this probably be a good way to end it. I think the most impressive aspect of One Piece for me, without question, and it's something that sets it apart from pretty much everything else that I've ever read, is the sense that when the main cast leaves a particular area, that area doesn't stop existing.
Oh my god.
So like,
ah,
I know that when I'm leaving Jaya, or when I'm leaving Romance Dawn, or when I'm leaving Barate or Arlong Park or wherever, all of these characters are still existing, living, and fulfilling their own desires and motivations elsewhere. They aren't it's not like, I feel like Shonen specifically falls prey to the idea that like you know, when you're in school as a very small kid, you think that your teachers are just waiting at their desks, you know, like just like for like to start again. That's not the way that this is. Like school, you know, like it. I get the feeling, and I've been told this, that like, you know, One Piece is known for its world building and all that kind of stuff, and so I feel like the word world building almost loses meaning because it's being used so much. But like, there is such an absurd level of detail and polish and purpose put into each individual character, so that they all have their own desires and motivations. Like, I think Colby is a freaking amazing example of this.
exactly.
He was pursuing his own his own end the entire time. I would assume Arlong is doing the same. I would assume Croc is doing the same. I would assume all these different characters are doing the exact same. And the utilization of these cover pieces, cover splash pages, showing like flashes into different people's goings on and stuff, like, is just, it's such an ambitious thing, but it's such, it
Cover
injects
stories are great.
it injects so much life into the world that it actually feels like a living, breathing, moving world.
Oh man, that's like my favorite thing about One Piece, and I've talked about it so much, and I'm so glad that you said that. And like, it's literally my favorite thing. It's like in so many other series, sometimes it seems like certain aspects of the series is kind of stagnant while something else is going on. And in One Piece, it's its own universe. It's its own living thing. Like, and it's its own moving parts. Like, everything is moving parts always. And I love it. I love it, man. I love it, and I love that you love it. And I'm really glad you're enjoying the series.
I'm very much enjoying it.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. It's so funny too, because your YouTube channel actually got suggested to me from a good friend of mine in my Discord channel like months ago, and they're like, "Yo, check this guy's channel out," and I'm like, "All right, cool, I'll go check it out." Whatever. When people suggest me to go check people's channel out, it's usually because they want me to try to get them on the podcast because they're fans of them. So
That's
like,
neat.
They're like, "Oh, go check his channel out, bro. Like, you'll like his content, bro. He's cool. He's a chill guy. He's funny." Like, I'm like, "All right, let me go see." So then I want to go watch some of your content. And I'm like, "Yo," and I tried to get you before, but you got so many comments on the tweet that I tried. I'm sure you just didn't see my reply. And then,
Very possible.
But this second time that I got your attention was you had just made the tweet. So like, I'm like, okay, I'm like fresh on the bottom of this tweet, like, so.
Well, if I see a question, like, I'll just answer it. Like,
for sure.
That's just kind of, yes.
Yeah, I never got the feeling that you were like one of those guys I would ignore. And I've seen you reply to other like fans and stuff before, so that's why I was like, okay, he will reply to me. He just has to see it. And the first time you just didn't see it. The second time you did, and I'm glad that we interacted. I'm glad that you're here. I think it's a great spot. Fiji, did you want to say something before I close out?
No, I'm
Okay.
great.
I think this is a great, like you said, a great spot to end it in. Again, appreciate you, Mark, for coming through. You talked to us for 3 hours, man. That's much more time than I thought I was going to be here. I thought it was going to be like a 1.5 hour thing, but every time I do these podcasts, I'm like, all right, I'm going to like be in here for like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
It's a good man.
And then,
I know, I do. It's going to be long because I like to talk, so it's one of those things.
I'm glad though, man, because I like to talk and I like to interact with people that like to talk because it's so easy. Like this 3 hours, the fact that 3 hours went by and it feels like 30 minutes to me means that we had a great conversation. In my opinion, I feel like when you have
And
good
thank you all,
conversations.
by the way. Yeah, no, 100%. I had a great conversation, and I'm sincerely, I do thank all of you for just like being so kind and just like avoiding spoilers for my own benefit. Like,
Oh, for
and,
sure, for sure.
that's very kind.
I hope you will come back once you catch up, so we can talk about the other half.
Yeah, sure, I'd love to.
And yeah, man, I appreciate you coming through. My boy Masked Man, appreciate you coming through as well. I had no idea that you were a Mark fan when I asked you to come on here. I literally didn't.
It was. I'm serious. Like and it's funny when you asked Fiji about his goals, because my goals on YouTube, I kid you not, was eventually. Now, mind you, I thought like 4 years from now, who knows, it might happen a lot sooner than I expected, because I've only been doing YouTube now for like a year. Was all right. If for me, I made it. If I hit 100,000, and then I kid you not, I have it on a piece of paper. It was like my goals collab with Nux Swag Mark, and I already. So that was like the goals for me on YouTube. It was like that's where I know I've accomplished something.
Man, that means a lot, man. Cause like that means a lot. Cause I'm really glad. I knew about the Nux stuff because you told me, but I didn't know about the Mark thing. So like I'm really like happy that I've gotten to like do this.
This kind of goes back to like what I was saying earlier about like me being Irish and not knowing how to deal with like, I mean, like I'd much rather you'd say that I was a shithead and that I can fuck off because then I can like I can work with that.
Your videos are terrible.
Hey, listen,
your
if you
videos are terrible.
If you ever want to do a bit together, some Mark, I'll definitely, before we talk, we could have at each other all you want. I'm down for it.
I'd have to be honest with you.
Amazing.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome, great.
That's awesome, man. Awesome. That's what this is for. Fiji, the bro Fiji, you know what I'm saying? Always showing love, coming
Drip,
through.
drip.
I finally I'm on more episodes than Dritz. I've made it 4 episodes.
You out here. I think you're on more than 50% of these now.
Hey man, it's insane.
It's my dog though. Kneecaps.
I appreciate you having
Kneecaps, always a pleasure, bro. I see your mic's muted right now. Oh, you're muted. Always a pleasure, man. Kneecaps, I hope that we get to work with each other in the future. I think your video Kneecaps, this is the thing with Kneecaps, right? So I again, my homeboy Moss, shout out Moss, you know what I'm saying? Kneecaps is like if you watch Moss's videos, this man, you can tell like Kneecaps is his inspiration, like literally. So when I'm watching his videos, I watch Moss's videos before Kneecaps videos, of course. And then one day he tags, he's like, yo, get Kneecaps on the podcast, bro. And then Kneecaps just replies like, yeah, sure, like, and that's kind of how Kneecaps is. Like, he's kind of like, yeah, whatever, man, whatever. But like so I go and watch his videos. Of course, I always try to watch content of people I bring on the podcast, so I like am familiar with it, stuff, etc., etc. So I go watch Kneecaps videos, and I'm like, bro, what Kneecaps is doing is like what I would love to do at times, like, because okay, I love to analyze and have discussions about One Piece. It's great, but I always wanted to like create a second channel where I got to be more of myself in the sense of like humor. And just kind of rant in a comedic way about certain things, anime, manga, video game related. So I'm definitely thinking about doing that in the future. And it's just like those little short, like, 3 to like 10-minute videos of like just people like ranting about things in a comedic way, but also in an informative way sometimes, and also just in a very silly, goofy way. I love it. I think it's hilarious. And I really do like, not gassing you, but I commend you like for doing that. Like, cause those types of videos are like, I love those types of videos. I watch, other people that do like 3 to 4 minute videos, that aren't anime and manga related, but they're kind of the same type of deal where they rant about something, and it's funny. Yeah. It's just funny, like, and it's entertaining. And any video that I can feel like I can watch and like it'll like literally I can laugh. Because I feel like laughter is like, and there's a phrase, laughter is the greatest medicine. Like, I really believe that, because sometimes I'll be so down in the dumps, and then like I'm like, yo, let me just find something funny, and I'll go watch something funny, and I'm laughing, and then all of a sudden my mood's fine, and my mood's elevated, and I feel better. So yeah, that's my little spiel on Kneecaps. I really like his videos as well. as Marks. I think they both make very different videos, but they both respectively do a great job of what they're doing. So go make sure that you guys go check out Kneecaps, check out Mark, check out the Masked Man. Again, he does the manga and anime reviews and stuff and discussions. But he's a lot of Berserk content over there that's really good that I peeped. So go check that out. And then Fiji, you know Fiji, bro. Fiji got the One Piece videos. You know what I'm saying? If you, again, I say this every time when I talk about Fiji. If you like them Zoro videos, go peep. Fiji got them Zoro videos on deck. You know what I'm saying? Go check them out. And look at my videos if you want, whatever. But again, guys, appreciate you guys coming through. All of these guys' information will be in the description box below. Go and check everyone's stuff out. As always, this is Sensei Inc., and I will see you guys in the next video.